Okay, we'd like to welcome you to the June 19th meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. If you'll please stand, we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a short non-public before this at 6:15 in order to interview a candidate for a Department of Public Works job, and we will introduce that person in a little while and move on with that nomination. Right now, we're pleased to ask Chief Sean Kelly to introduce our newest member of the Weare Police Department.
Thank you, Selectmen. Selectmen, this evening marks the end of several months of work to introduce a police officer candidate to you. We started this process by looking at the written test scores of two separately administered written tests, totaling more than 200 test takers. That number was whittled down using a time-proven method that combines self-selection, community participation, and police standards and trainings mandates. In the end, after multiple interviews, an extensive background investigation, fitness, medical, and psychological testing, and a comprehensive polygraph examination, I'm pleased to introduce you to Mr. John Blake. John. John's 28 years old. He and his wife Alex were married last summer and moved into their new home in Bradford last weekend. John was born in Smithtown, New York, and for those of you who wonder, he is a Yankees fan. He graduated from Sachem High School in Farmingville, New York, and though he has 62 college credits earned while working as a police officer, which is admirable from my perspective, John does not yet have his college degree. John is a certified police officer in the Commonwealth of Virginia, where he's worked for the Alexandria Police Department since 2012. He has received his law enforcement certification from the Commonwealth in November of 2012. We have applied to the New Hampshire Police Standards and Training Council for a waiver for his attendance to the full-time police academy, but have yet to hear the result. I'm fairly confident that that's going to happen, but who knows. Assuming for a moment that the waiver will be granted, John will have to attend the so-called law package during the next scheduled academy. Starting on Monday, June 26th, John will be assigned to field training for approximately 12 weeks. I anticipate that John will be assigned to full-time shift work at or about the beginning of October. Consistent with the past practices of the police department and recognition for his 5 years of certified work as a police officer, John will begin at step 4, or $23.15 an hour. Excuse me. With that, Selectmen, it is my recommendation to the board that you swear John Blake in as a police officer for the town of Weare.
Yeah, do you need a motion?
You do.
First,
I'll do it.
the hiring?
Yep. I move to hire John Blake as full-time patrolman for the rate of $23.15 an hour, effective immediately.
Second.
All good?
Aye.
Okay.
Welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Oh, he's going to swear him in. Yeah. He's not done yet.
Give him a minute.
Are you gonna hunt date on?
Please raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I, John Blake,
I, John Blake,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully and impartially
that I will faithfully and impartially
discharge and perform all the duties
discharge and perform all the duties
incumbent on me as a full-time police officer,
incumbent on me as a full-time police officer,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
agreeable to the rules and regulations,
agreeable to the rules and regulations,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
the Constitution and the laws of the state of New Hampshire.
So help me God.
So help me God. Thank you.
I'd like to at least one good-looking person.
That's why I stayed seated.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it, right?
That's it.
So
Yeah,
we have the minute to set up private health trust.
Yeah, why don't we
Go
do
to
that?
Tony.
Why don't we do
While
Benji's
she's
first?
setting up, or
Yeah.
there's no swearing in necessary, but
For Be-
Benji, why don't you introduce your candidate and take care of that so he doesn't have to wait through the whole meeting?
I don't have such a speech wrote up as but we had a departure of another employee from Public Works, and Tony Tavares has been somebody that I've had my eye on for quite some time, and now we finally have a position for him. He's worked most of his life in some sort of construction and truck driving, and that's just what we're looking for. So he can start as early as tomorrow, which is perfect. So I'm asking for you to hire him at a rate of $16.56 an hour, a truck driver for the town of Weare Public Works, and allow him to start for me in the morning.
You don't, as we said, we interviewed Tony before the meeting. We're looking for a motion now.
I'll make a motion that we hire Tony Traveris for the Public Works Department at a starting rate of $16.56 an hour, effective tomorrow.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Congratulations.
All in favor?
This will not miss the phone call.
You know, we do have another place to sign on the sheet.
You do. Right here.
Does he need to hang up?
No, he's good.
He's good.
Just have him come over tomorrow. Just the, right under John's name, you administered the oath, the
Yep.
date and signature. Yeah,
He's good.
you got enough cord? Almost? The room's gonna clear out anyway.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we just lost.
Just FYI, this is Dina. Dina's with Health Trust. She'd asked to take a few minutes of your time to just go through, just so you have an understanding as a board, as to what Health Trust and what that provides for us as employees. She's also got handouts. She's got somebody with her, but I can't remember your name from last weekend, Darlene. Can you get it yet? You might have to come down a little. There you go. I don't know, Benji, you want to see if there's a light in the back you want? Oh, no. It's movie night. Well, actually, no, it doesn't look bad on TV.
No. It brings out our highlights.
There you go. Go ahead, Dina.
Well, thank you everybody for having me tonight. Like Naomi said, my name is Dina Polino. I'm the Member Relations Representative at Health Trust. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about some of the programs and services that Health Trust does provide here in Weare. Who is Health Trust? Health Trust is a nonprofit risk pool. We were established under the RSA 5B. And we provide cost-effective medical, dental, prescription drug, and ancillary benefits exclusively to public sector employers and employees in New Hampshire. So this is our vision and our mission, and we really pride ourselves on these two things working together to help us to provide services to employers, public sector employers here in New Hampshire, to help to reduce costs and to maintain stability in your budgets, and also help you with a commitment to education and health promotion and prevention here in Weare and other communities in New Hampshire. So some of the health trust risk pool advantages, we offer comprehensive employee benefit programs and services. Again, like I said, with lower costs and more stable pricing. We partner with extensive provider networks with trusted partners such as Anthem, CVS, and Delta Dental. We pride ourselves on providing exceptional value and service through our staff and our call centers and our benefit advisors who come out and talk to you and work with Naomi and others here in Weare. And we're governed by a board of directors, which is comprised of New Hampshire
You can't
Municipal
see her on
School.
the screen.
But who do you want to see?
I don't know if it will pick it up on the screen. Excuse me for the interruption.
Oh, that's okay.
The camera doesn't pick up either you, the speaker, or the screen. So
Yeah, that's all you're
The
going to get,
screen's not
though.
gonna come in.
Yeah,
Oh, we're going to look at,
no, it's not
go
going to
the
show.
other way.
hang on.
Yeah, it's not going
For now.
It's about as good as I can get.
Yeah.
What do you... Go ahead, you can hear her voice, though, through the, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, but before we couldn't see either you or the screen. So.
That's okay. I don't need to be on camera. So as they're saying, we are governed by a board of directors, which is comprised of New Hampshire Municipal School and county officials and employees such as yourself. This is our current board of directors. They set policy and our procedures going forward. And because they are involved in the public sector and they are in roles that govern these particular bodies, they have a great sense of the needs of our members and what our members are looking for when it comes to benefit plans. So this is just a little overview of our year from 2016. The most important number here, as you can see, is, or that I think, is the medical market share. 64% of eligible participants have chosen Health Trust as their provider and as their provider for employee benefits. So we really do take that as something that we are proud of. This is a brief, I'm not going to read all of the numbers, but this is kind of where our enrollees are, which are the employees of your towns, where they choose to have their coverage or where they're covered under our coverage lines. So we have medical, dental, life, short-term disability, and long-term disability. We also offer flexible spending account administration as well. This is just a few short graphs about where the people that are enrolled choose their plans. So as you can see, the largest is the HMO, which is also what you provide to your employees here in Weare. We call it the Access Blue plan. And then by the prescription drugs, we have a 3-tier plan and a 6-tier plan. And I believe here in Weare you offer the 6-tier plan, which is varies between what the retail cost and the mail order cost would be for the copay. So this is just a graph showing the rating components. These are the components that go into the rates. You guys are in what we call the small group, so you do get pulled in with other small groups. But as you can see here, claims is a big portion of what determines whether or not the rates are going to go up or whether or not they're going to go down. So through our wellness programs and our education programs, we really strive to help you maintain those costs within that large portion. A national look and a local look at where healthcare trends are at. The national average over the last 5 years was at 6.2% increase, and Health Trust average was at 5.2%. So being part of the small group, the rate change over the last 5 years for Weare was about 5.1%. So really right within the average range and where you want to be. These are some of the preferred medical plan options that we offer to our small groups. As you can see, the town of Weare has the site of service plan. I believe it's a 2040 copay, and the 6-tier retail and mail order prescription drug plan. Our Access Blue network offers a strong provider network. We have over 100, we have 100% of the facilities and primary care providers in New Hampshire, and nearly that across New England. Any of your enrollees can go to anywhere in New England for the cost of their copay. They can choose a provider anywhere in New England. And we have 98% of the specialists that are covered under the Access Blue network. So here in Weare you have the site of service plan, which is a little bit different from some plans that people are used to. The individual, if they choose to use a site of service facility or provider, they have a cost share for lab tests of $0, and for outpatient medical services such as knee and shoulder, arthroscopy, tonsillectomies, endoscopic surgeries and stuff like that, their copay would be $75. You can still choose a provider anywhere within the network, but the out-of-pocket cost would be towards your deductible. So this is just a quick example of a lab test to show you how an individual can save on the service fee, and also how the claim would save money as well. If an individual were to choose a site of service network provider for just a routine blood work, the service cost is $81 at the site of service provider. They would pay $0, and the claim would be $81 towards your claims. In a non-site of service provider, the service cost actually jumps to $377, which would go towards the deductible for the individual up to their maximum for their deductible. But you can see that it's about $296 more as a claim for the plan. So it really does save money for your employees and for individuals to choose in the site of service network. You can see that there are providers all over the state of New Hampshire, particularly Quest Diagnostics and LabCorp, which are three familiar facilities that people usually go to. An example for an outpatient service, this is a knee arthroscopy. The site of service network provider, the service cost is a little over $3,500. By choosing that provider, the individual would pay a $75 copay. If not, the service cost jumps to over $7,700. $1,000 of that is applied towards the individual's deductible, but the claim goes in at $77.66. So it really does work to save money for the plan and for the claims by choosing a network provider. And it's really important to note that these services are being provided by the same respectable doctors and providers that you would find in other facilities. They're just doing it at a lower cost facility. Some of these facilities are site of service providers: Bedford Ambulatory Surgery Center, Capital Orthopedic, Elliott One-Day Surgery Center. So places where people would possibly pick on their own anyways. Definitely very respectable places. So the Health Trust medical plans, I'm not going to read through this in its entirety, but it's important to note that all of our plans have essential medical services such as preventative screenings, physician office visits, telemedicine visits, which I'll actually go into a little bit later, emergency care, prescription medications, and some new programs that we are offering with our behavioral health and substance abuse care. With Anthem, there's the comfort of knowing that there is worldwide coverage with the Blue Care Network. There's also away from home care for those who have full-time students who are outside of the state or outside of New England, and also those who might be long-term travelers. And there's access to more than 64,000 network retail pharmacies nationwide. So if you're like me, you probably have 1,000 different passwords for 1,000 different websites, and you can't remember any of them. So we've tried to make it a little bit easier for our enrollees and for our covered individuals to have just one single password and have access to all of the partners and all of the providers that we partner with. So you just have one place for all of your coverage needs, you sign on to Health Trust secure login, and you have access to all of the information that you would need. This is also helpful for business administrators and for the administrators of the plan, because they have their own secure login for different things that they might need to help your employees on the ground. So Health Trust has been and has had a commitment to wellness since the 90s, and we pride ourselves on being a leader in this area. One of the programs that we do offer through this wellness program is the Slice of Life, and it provides incentives for individuals to be healthier so that they don't then go and have costly procedures down the line. So there's different incentives you can see on the side for completing a health assessment, going to a biometric health screening, engaging with a health coach to maybe lose weight or to stop smoking, reimbursements for health classes, not only for yourself but for your family members. And just by being more healthy and being active, individuals can earn $50 a quarter. We've all got Fitbits, and they sync up to it, and
They do, and they work really well.
Yeah.
Because you get a check all of a sudden.
So it's definitely an incentive for people to be more involved in their health and to be more active. Part of the Slice of Life is also the Smart Shopper plan, and this engages our enrollees in understanding and controlling healthcare costs and helps them to be a little bit more consumer savvy when it comes to healthcare. It provides some cost transparency, and it offers incentives also for them to choose cost-effective facilities similar to the site of service plan. And you can see on the side that there is a $550 average savings per incentive, and almost $3 million last year was saved through December 31st. Just a quick little example, we used a colonoscopy. I know everybody wanted to hear about colonoscopies tonight, but we did a colonoscopy search using a 30-mile radius from Weare, and actually there were far more facilities that popped up, but you can see the top three are the top three cost-effective facilities. So if someone were searching for this and they chose Concord Endoscopy, the individual would receive a check in the mail for $150. The overall cost would be about almost $2,000, but you can see how that would differ if they had gone to the Elliott one-day surgery and had the plan be charged almost $7,000. So there is definitely an incentive, not only to the individual, but to the plan itself. So also part of our Slice of Life is our innovative care, and we use Live Health Online, which is our telemedicine program. I actually used it a couple of weeks ago myself. My daughter woke up in the morning, 103 fever, classic symptoms of strep. I don't want to go sit at a walk-in center and wait for 2 hours for her to be seen and for them to say, yep, she's got strep. We literally called, and within 20 minutes, there was a prescription waiting for me at CVS, and my husband picked it up and brought it home, and we didn't spend the entire day dragging her around everywhere. So it was really helpful. It's helpful to, making sure that people don't miss valuable time at home or at work, and it's all for the cost of a typical copay. The other program that is newer to Anthem and to Health Trust is the Weare Recovery Program. It's an in-home addiction treatment program. It's long-term. It's a year-long program for those who are suffering with chronic disease of addiction. And it's all done in the comfort and privacy of the individual's home, so they don't have to, sometimes people, it's a barrier to getting the care that they need if they think that someone's going to see them getting that care. So it's very helpful, and they've had great success in Connecticut, and they've just recently rolled it out into New Hampshire. So we offer an array of other programs and partners. Life Resources is our employee assistance program. We offer and provide flu clinics and on-site biometric screenings. Last year we did almost 7,000 flu shots, and we set up over 50 biometric screenings with about 6,000 attendees for that. We also send out monthly newsletters, and we handle all of the flexible spending account administration We also provide a wellness coordinator academy, so the individuals who want to be a wellness coordinator on site here in Weare can go there and learn from others how to get your employees more active and to provide more programs to promote wellness here in the community. So our benefits and wellness advisors are part of our exceptional service. They are committed to educating and guiding our members and enrollees to maximize their benefits. Last year, our advisors made about 1,000 visits to our members. So they're really out there and talking with those who administer the programs and also with the employees themselves to help and to educate them and into what services are offered to them. We also have dedicated staff in our office in Concord. They answer calls and emails personally. In fact, our call center handled over 27,000 calls last year and had a 93% return rate within the same day. So calls were answered and accomplished within 93% within the day. We have some of our members who will say, you know what, I don't have to answer the questions when someone comes into my office. I tell them to call Health Trust, and they answer it. I know they're going to get the answer that they need. I know that they're going to get the help they need. So it really does take a weight. I don't know if Naomi, I hope Naomi feels this way, but it really does take some of that off of the plates of the town administrators and the benefits administrators. Some of our exceptional value, we do provide COBRA administration and billing services, and we provide ACA support, which is currently the American the American Care Act, and we provide support and training for those programs. We also provide invaluable programs that are not seen with other benefits providers, such as transition care and survivor care, which is really peace of mind for enrollees and their families. So our benefits advisors and our wellness advisors are working closely with those in town, but some of the things that you as a board member might be interested in is to understand the review of the cost and utilization reports that we provide and the rating summaries. We go through it bit by bit, and it might be helpful to you to see how all of the components fit within your town. Establishing education plans, and also identifying, if there isn't already one, a wellness coordinator who will help people to be active participants, and holding a benefit and education fair. Lastly, I just want to leave you with this slide, which I think really encapsulates what Health Trust is all about. I mean, you can read all of the different things, but we really truly care about each and every one of our members. We really truly care about each and every one of our enrollees and our covered individuals. And we work tirelessly to make sure that we're providing the best care, the best plans for our members and for our enrollees. I feel it as an employee that Health Trust is about heart, and I hope that as a member you feel that as well. If there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If you think of anything later. All right.
We usually get an estimate of the costs for the following year in October and November, and how do you calculate that up front and know approximately what it's going to be for an increase in premiums?
Yeah, so it's based on a number of different factors, including medical trend and your last year, well, what do we do?
Per
it's the
year.
last 18 months of claims that we look at, and base it on that projected forward.
So it's based on the individual town's claims to a great deal.
Yes, but here and where you guys are in the small group, so there are other small groups that are in the same pool that it would be based on. So it wouldn't just be Weare because you're under 50 covered individuals, or 50 enrollees, excuse me.
Questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'll try and unplug quietly.
Benji, or Sean, you want to get, Frank, you can get the lights. Let me see you back there. Do you mind if I keep the rest of these and
Oh,
share them?
absolutely. Yeah, and if
with
you
him.
need, I have an electronic version I can send you.
Okay.
If that's helpful.
Ooh.
Right as I walk out the door.
Do you have a notepad you can put over your head?
Yeah. I have an umbrella.
Oh, there you go.
Even better.
Not sure how much good it'll do with the wind.
Oh, yeah. Bridge later.
Is that what you do in
Oh, yeah.
non-public?
Podium back
It's for
too.
Tom's photo paddles. Must be nice.
Thank you, John.
Okay, next on our agenda, department head and committee items. And we're going to start with Chief Kelly, and related to request for additional camera and discussion of locker room, weight room, renovations at the police department. You don't agree with that? That's not what we're talking about?
Cameras, yes. I'm not. You have something for that?
Well, I shared with them a drawing of a proposal for
Oh, okay. But I
for
haven't
the
seen that,
next
so I
step.
can't comment.
Right. And I'm not sure if everybody got over there or not, but we don't have prices or anything right now for that project, so, thanks, Dina. I mean, I put it on there and hoping we could talk about it, but if you haven't seen it.
Okay. Okay, so, do you have this?
No, I only printed out the one.
Okay. What we're trying to do is, if we wanted to put a label to this project, would be, I guess, enhancing the security camera surveillance system at the police station. So, I guess the first thing is the why. Until we discovered in late fall 2015, very much the hard way, during an internal investigation, we thought we had, that it wasn't adequate. We thought we had an adequate surveillance system. What we discovered was that there were some activities that had taken place in the parking lot of the police station that were not recorded on video camera. And frankly, it could have been a costly problem for us had we been challenged on that, or if the circumstances had been different. So we took a little bit of a closer look at what coverage we did have. And in that assessment, what we discovered was that though there is very good coverage in our prisoner processing room, for instance, where the booking is done, and though there is good coverage inside of the Sallyport garage, any place else that we may move prisoners to or from, there's no coverage. So if an incident were to occur within the building outside of those two spaces, we would capture none of it on video. So this project would add, it would replace the existing DVR with one that was built this side of the Old Man of the Mountain, and it would so we'd have two of them, and it would add 9 cameras total to the system. That 9 cameras would give us 180-degree coverage of the external parts of the public safety complex, including the entire rear parking area, including the south side bay doors, the entire parking area, all the way around past the front door of the building. It would add a camera to the interview room at the front, in the front of the building. The first office off the entranceway into the police side of the building. Believe it or not, there's not coverage of the front door of the police station right now. So this would, exactly, Jan, this would add coverage of the front door of the police station. This would add security for e-commerce and child custody cases in the front of the building. And if you can believe it or not, here it is 2017. If you were to look at a video that was recorded on there, there's no time date stamp. So it has very little evidentiary value other than the images that are captured, because you can't put a time or a date on the event that you're looking at. And the other thing that drives me nuts is that if we want to review video, we have to call Protection One and have a tech come in, conduct the search for the applicable video, download it, record it for us, and give us a hard copy from it. So this system would then enable us to do searches immediately. You know, if an event occurred, we can go back and look immediately and see what just took place, and do those searches and do those downloads without having to bring in Protection One. So, in other words, this is entirely about risk management. It's I've been asked over and over and over again for transparency and accountability. This goes a long way towards that. This just enhances our ability to give you the information that you want should the circumstances arise. Whereas right now we can't. Would be very limited anyway. This has been actually on the Board of Selectmen's plate since that fall of 2015. As a community, the money didn't exist in the fall of 2015 for this project. In 2016, very frankly, we let it slip off our radar. We have no excuses for that. And by the time it did come back to our radar, the quotes that we had gotten back then had long expired. So we had to get new ones. This quote is an April quote, and it's still here we are now in June, finally getting to it.
What was the quote for? How much?
$8,450, including equipment and installation.
What's the company?
Protection One. It's our existing company.
How many other quotes did you get, Chief?
We had gone outside to look at other companies, and one of whom was Burns Security, and their quote was nearly $30,000. Reason being is that they would have to remove all of the existing equipment because it's proprietary to Protection One, and replace it with all new equipment. This project builds on the existing equipment, thereby keeping the cost down a little bit.
You say like that camera that's in the front of the building now, when you park, doesn't cover the front door, just covers that area.
When the building was built, I'm sure it was, hey, this is great. But it's one of those things that you don't know what you don't know until something happens, and all of a sudden you discover that, oh boy, we missed that one. And that's exactly what happened in this case.
Didn't, just Sean, too, with Protection One, didn't we just do something with Goffstown to enhance that a little bit with Protection One?
That's not done yet.
Okay, but we did,
Right.
we've got something in the works with that.
Yeah, what they're going to do is they're going to position the camera, or turn the existing camera, so that it will cover the front window. And that will be a live feed to the dispatch center 24 hours a day.
Yep.
So we're able to keep that front lobby open for people in emergencies.
to review, I don't question the need for it. One of the issues we have is, as you know, we didn't have any additional funds put into the building maintenance fund. Is there any place in your budget that you can squeeze any part of this?
Not anymore.
Because, you know, it sounds like a lot of money, say $1,000, but we've already got plans for moving the gazebo and putting it on a foundation. And we have a list of things on the town hall and so forth. So, again, I'm not arguing against this or for it. I'm just saying that we as a board have to be careful with that $70,000 we have, and, you know, look at where it's gonna go between now and the end of the year, or really between now and next March. This is,
Where's the locker room coming out of? Is that coming out of?
yeah, that would too, we'd have to take a close look at, weigh it with that too. Obviously, to me, this would move ahead of the locker room.
Then maybe table this until you've had an opportunity as a board to set the priorities of the existing building maintenance budget.
Yeah, I don't want you to lose the opportunity with
The quote's gonna expire.
quote
Yeah.
and have it go up by $1,000 either.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to look at our broader responsibilities as far as spending this limited fund.
Yeah.
And we've really been lax on, and I, no offense to anybody, myself included, on just doing that. Okay? What are we gonna do this summer, and what's it gonna cost? As far as the outdoor projects or indoor projects, and where's the money coming from? And most of it's gotta come out of that one fund, not all of it, but most of it. And everybody else, that's just, that's the only concern.
Okay, well, like I said, table it and
Did they,
let me know.
did they give you an idea of how long they would hold that?
There's probably an expiration on it.
Usually it says on there how long. Is it 60 days or 90 days? Yeah.
60 days, gone.
Well, it's this month.
What did they say the turnaround time was once they started this project to have it up and running? Did they give you any idea?
I have not asked them. This is, let's find out if we have the money before we take that step.
I think we should definitely, see where we can get the money, see where the story is as far as money goes. And I think this takes a priority over the locker room. And definitely for
I just think, I just think for what we've been through in some of the recent requests of information and how challenging it's been to try to get some of the footage, my personal, this makes more sense than the locker room at first.
To me, it's a
But-
safety issue. I mean, that's why I looked like I did when you said that, because I can see a mother coming to the police station that's in a domestic dispute and trying to get into the police station and somebody's behind her. I mean, that's my envisionment. I mean, it's a safety issue for both the public and the police.
risk management all the way around, like you said.
Exactly.
And that's a priority, that's a big priority, especially,
Well, there's $71,843.07 in government building right now.
How much?
71,843.07.
I wasn't trying to squelch this, people, I just wanted to
Oh,
bring
no,
up the piece.
no,
So,
no,
Yeah, I mean,
no, you're
That's
right.
gonna
I
be
mean, we
taking
do.
11-12% of that fund right out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk.
So,
I'm trying to find the date on this as far as how long it's good for. It was issued on
I'll believe you
April
that.
5th.
I don't know.
Was issued when?
April 5th. I know most businesses, they issue quotes, it's either 30 to
Yeah, it's
60
already
days,
60.
depending on
It's
what
60,
it is.
most of them are 60 days.
Depending on what the job is, 30 to 60 days.
Some you can call and get an extension, which I know
Do
Ryan
we
did
know how
on.
much the locker room's going to be?
No, because I don't have a list of materials to get a price yet.
Those town hall doors definitely have to get up, but I mean, I don't want to, you know.
Well, town hall doors, that's why I asked Naomi, because the doors themselves are paid for, we're
Right.
talking about the installation costs.
Right. And the
I asked-
painting.
I asked her to get the money that's left in other funds. So for example, in the town hall, the money through the Mildred Hall Trust is $22,952.30 in there. And then there's a substantial amount of money in Clinton Grove, but that's the Clinton Grove.
Mhm.
So I think we're all set as far as the town hall doors.
Okay.
Because we have the money there, and we also would have some to put toward other town hall projects, like maybe some of the minor ones. Like,
Mhm.
you know, like fixing the rod around the eaves, things like that.
Right.
would be something we could do without a lot of design costs up front. So I think that the emergency stuff at the town hall, the doors and the rock part on the lower part of the building, we'll probably have the money out of that.
Okay.
So just, I didn't have that figure until tonight, so.
Plus the balance that would be left. This is what I did, if you took the 8450 out of the government building, and then you added the 23,000, I just did it as a round number, you'd have 86,394. That's after you took out the 8450.
Right. But what was our preliminary estimates on the gazebo? Do you remember that?
The one was 13, one was 16,000.
So we're talking 13,
So if you take away that, say 13, you're down to 50, and then the town hall still has 23.
Well, what's your pleasure, folks? You know, we'd be able to do this and do the gazebo and have $50,000 left in there,
If we got, yeah, around that.
around that,
I think,
plus the money in the Mildred Hall.
Then you'd have the extra, that gives you 23 more in the Mildred Hall, which is for just the town hall.
Yeah,
well, I think before we get too far afield, someone wanted to get an updated quote. Because if it's been April,
Yeah, I think
you
it
know,
has been.
That's all I'm saying.
I think it's probably-
Going on normal business practice from my own experience, is 60 days is usually the maximum, unless you have some previous agreement for some
Right.
reason. So I'd like to see another quote.
But now you don't meet again until July 3rd, I'm just
So,
telling you.
And I'm saying, you know, we could, well, put it
Yeah.
off at that, because I don't want to spend that money and then say, well, okay, we'll go spend $8,500.
No,
And can find out
I'm
it could be
completely just-
$9,500.
Right.
That's why I want to see what
Yeah.
exactly what we're at, and I'd like to know if we do award this, and then what's the turnaround time
Mhm.
that thing's up and running, because, I think that's, you know, with the risk management and all the past, problems, I think that this is, that's a reasonable request. And, instead of trying to
No, but I wasn't trying to, yeah,
Instead
yeah.
of trying to nickel and dime it out of the government building accounts, so we don't get caught short too, that if we have something we really need it for,
so the,
catastrophic failure or something.
next two meetings, one's July 3rd,
Yep, we were meeting the 3rd, the 17th, and the 31st.
3rd, 17th, 31st.
First.
Yep.
Could you contact them and see if they could hold this until, say, the end of July?
I'm sending them myself a note to do that right now.
And then,
Re-quote it, give us a quote, let's see if this is gonna hold it, if they can hold that
because if we
price.
say next meeting, we're not gonna have time to
Yep.
price out any of the other stuff. Not that we'll have exact, but
Right.
get some.
But between the 3rd and the 17th, you'd have quotes for your gazebo, you'd have, because I found the entire package that I think needs to be fair to everybody that gets sent out. I mean, there's pictures and everything. I did finally find it. And then this is the actual drawing that they all need.
Yep.
So between the drawing and the backup, and then to give them time, and I think July 3rd is not a great day to do that because most everybody's on vacation around that week. So,
What's the other one, July 19th, you said? So-
no, we're gonna meet the 3rd, the 17th, and the 31st.
Okay, so if you say, get it out by the 17th?
Yeah.
Well, even if he asks for an update to the end of July, he's still got one more month,
Yeah.
one more meeting in
Okay.
case something falls
So,
apart.
I mean, either or.
Yeah, 3/17/31.
Or the 31st.
Right.
All
And
set?
we do have some estimates on other, we only had them for one contract.
One, right. But now we have a couple, I mean,
But we do
the
have
gentleman in New Boston, I want to get him the whole package.
estimates on other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, again, even if we just prioritize
Mhm.
and say,
Sure.
this is what we're gonna do this summer, if we say, okay, the tower's gonna wait, the spire's gonna wait, I'm
Okay.
not saying that's
Yep.
side, but if we do, then we can say, when we go into this next year, budget time, we can say,
Right,
this is our project.
Because we had put
Yeah,
together,
that's
you had put together that list of the doors, and I did get some information back, and typically, it's Benjamin Moore 096 is what the number is for paint. And then one coat of primer, 2 coats of vinyl is what's recommended.
So we type that in, and then the other thing that Chip, and that is that any damaged hinges that the town supplies them, so
Right.
that we make sure we get a perfect match. on
Right,
it.
so that we're supplying them the hinges, right.
So I think that probably is a go,
We could send that out too,
Yeah, absolutely.
and then we'd have
Yeah,
something to
get that-
prioritize
Get
with.
that off our plate.
Well, just to move a little bit further down.
It's not gonna quite get it off my back.
Yeah, well, I mean, the more that they lay up on that stage, the more there's a risk of it.
No, I know.
Pushing it to 'em.
Yeah.
What's that?
I'm all set with you, Sean, sorry.
And just, if you've got, just, and while he's here, and I apologize, I didn't send it to you, there's a thought of, is building some sort of structure out in the fire department side that includes a mezzanine, to make that a weight room, and then the weight room would become the police departments to make a locker room. But there's a hand sketch. This is second floor, this is other, but I'll share it with you so you can see what we're thinking about, because the prices are, we gotta have prices for materials and stuff, and I don't have that.
Okay.
So, but I can send you what our thoughts were, that actually the fire department, and I sent them to these to go actually have a look, so that we could see what we're talking about. But I still don't have price lists, so,
Okay, thank you.
I wanna go ahead with this.
yeah.
Just wanna make sure that we've got our feet on the ground with other costs.
Sure. I see. You want this name or you want to take it up? I'll take it.
There you go.
See you later.
From memory.
Thanks, chief.
Good night. Benji, I think, you're up next.
Yep.
So I'm here this time on behalf of the transfer station.
I think you guys have that quote, yeah, in
Yeah.
front of you.
Give you a
Okay.
list, I got my 3 quotes. The metal roll-off container that we have is just, the important corner posts are just rotted out. And we kind of jerry-rigged the binder on there so the door will stay open during transportation, but it's hauled on a roll-off trailer and it sets very high in the air. And the driver has to climb like a monkey to get undone. It's quite dangerous and our hauler's not very happy about it, but he's dealing with it for now. So he actually did the legwork for the first set of quotes I got, but they were for a slightly smaller container. So I went back out and used the same companies he used and got them for a 50-yarder, which would be in like of what we got now. We purchased the one we have now in January of 2006 for $6,550. Last year we held 29 loads of iron in it, and we got $17,642 out of them 29 loads just last year.
16, how many times did you haul?
We hauled 29 times last
Okay.
year, according to our NRA reports.
So how much for 1 year again, if you just repeat that?
Last year was $17,642. And right now, iron is high as it's been in a year at $90 a ton. I look back in 2011, and we're getting $265 a ton. So it was 2.5 times back then. So if you went at today's prices, at the number of loads we hauled last year, it'd be almost $200,000 made on that container. Realistically, it's way more than that, because from 2011 to 2013, it was over $250 a ton. So I think it's done its
Pay for it.
due diligence, right? There's no trade-in value on it. I plan on just leaving it up there for some sort of storage. So I'm asking to buy a new one.
So this is the scrap metal trail.
Yep, the one that your light iron goes in, yep. And it's basically rust is why it's no good, isn't because of it does have a rough life having iron thrown in it, but the rust has got the best of it. So I went out to Premier Recycling. They are out of Georgetown, Massachusetts. Bucks out of Pennsylvania, and Northeast Industrial Manufacturing out of Pennsylvania. And when you figure in the price of the can and the shipping, Premier Recycling come out the cheapest at $7,750 delivered.
They all meet the same specs.
Yep, it was all a 50-yard. They're heavy-duty roll-off container. So the floor is a little thicker, cross members a little closer together. So, yeah. And the money would come out of the transfer station equipment replacement fund, which currently has a little over $30,000 in it. $30,540.22 in it. Right now.
And you have the form?
I do, if you guys agree to go
He has the
along with
capital
it, I
reserve
brought
form.
papers.
On the sides of that, the, I can't remember the description of the steel that Kyle used, but he had the sides of the more rugged steel, so that we pounded on it, it wouldn't bow out.
Hard Ox?
Well, I doubt it's hard ox, but
AR500, AR400.
I don't know if that's what that, yeah, I found the original when he came and asked the board back then, and I don't know if it had specs with it. I just seen that he was asking for a 50-yard container. I didn't send out a set of specs. I asked for their heavy duty. They'll have a contractor and a heavy duty container. Contractors, you throw your shingles stuff in, heavy duty is just a little other. So I didn't, it's not a special build container, I guess. The sides are 12 gauge. The floor is 1/4 inch. That's all it says on it, to be honest with you.
It's equivalent to the one that is there,
Yep.
except it doesn't have holes in it.
Right,
Pre-rot.
right, pre-rot.
Doesn't have the optional rust package.
It does take a beating, but I couldn't even guess what a container that you just throw metal in loose would weigh. You get a week with all washing machines, I don't think it'd weigh 1,000 pounds. We're getting 7,500 pounds every time that thing goes out, so it pays to pack it. But the packing with the backhoe really isn't the problem with it. The corner posts, there's no place for the latch to hook to anymore. The latch pulled right off it. We have a chain in the binder. We welded a chain on a piece of steel that still is good and put a ratchet binder on it. That's how the door's held. Problem is, the driver's standing on a roll-off trailer, hanging with one arm, 8 feet in the air, trying to get it undone, So if you were to not go with it, I'd have to try to Mickey Mouse it. I'd just say not.
What's the,
I haven't found that out, but they're in Massachusetts, so it's much quicker than,
right, if they had one built, then.
I don't know if they have one built or not, but I didn't ask. In my quotes, this one doesn't have a deadline, and the other two are the end of June, so.
It's not long.
15 days and June 30th was the other two.
Might not make it.
Questions, anybody, or comments?
No.
Are we ready for a motion? If so,
Yeah, I make a motion that we allow the Public Works Director to purchase 50-yard roll-off container, and I would say from Premier Recycling for the price of $7,750 using the transfer station equipment replacement fund.
I'll second it.
any other questions? Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
And sides of paper, folks can sign so they can get the ball rolling.
Hand in both now.
Oh, those are bad.
The next on our agenda, we have Forester Jerry Turner here, Steve Najar and
Andy.
Andy as well, for a discussion of forestry techniques.
This came about as a discussion. You asked me to see if I could get Jeremy to come in to talk about
Yes.
just forestry techniques. As I think the discussion was, I wasn't here. That's 2 Mondays. Was the way that the poor farm forest was left? Okay, so that's why I've asked Jeremy to come in, and conservation was all invited too.
But I think that there's a general need to understand the definition of different types of foresting and what you're doing and why it's best to do it that way. Selective cutting was one thing. What is that nowadays compared to what maybe it was in the past? The harvesting, where the value lies. This is just recent. I was reading an article in the Monitor about the fact that chips have plummeted, I guess, in value compared to what they were a short time ago. So, Jeremy, or whoever would like to lead this.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman and fellow members, for the invitation. Tom and I have known each other, I think, since I started. I've been with the town now for going on almost 10 years. So, but for the other members, what we have in place is a program of management for the town forests, and it's basically it's a rolling 10-year professionally planned program that's designed to meet and exceed the town's ownership objectives, which are highly geared towards wildlife habitat, education, water resources, and obviously timber too. But I would not counsel or say that that's the driving motivation. But when we do implement work management, all those things are considered and allocated appropriately based on the property. So the science and planning that's been done historically from on the ground measurements and inventory is gleaned, and then it's analyzed against science that's practiced today. And your question about types of practices come in a big broad spectrum of types of cutting methods, and selection cutting is a small part of the choices that you have as an owner to implement work. So in a nutshell, the town exercises a variety of different type of cutting methods, and each Excuse me?
No, go ahead.
Yeah,
Finish
sorry.
what you were saying.
Yeah, and each cutting method is catered to that particular part of the property, which was planned for and documented. And each type of method has a type of system, a cutting system, which is the machinery and the men, the workforce, the know-how that's available to practice that art and science of forestry. So where some properties have cutting methods that are prescribed, really cater to certain cutting systems or machines that are available. So, you know, it's a pretty serious planning and highly professional scientific process, and that's kind of how it goes. But it all starts and ends with the town's ownership objectives and the planning that we've been doing historically by analyzing the properties.
I was
That
thinking
make sense?
of 3 projects, but if we start with the one on Core Farm Road.
Sure.
To be honest, I haven't gone down to see that.
Okay.
But other board members had, and they expressed what they saw there as
Okay.
being, they weren't happy with what they saw there. So maybe if you explain the method that was used
Sure.
there and the reason it was left, and then we'll open it up to questions.
Okay,
about that.
great. So the Poor Farm, we spend, so everything we do in terms of implementing the work, the forester, myself, is on the ground, and I mark and designate on a tree-to-tree level what trees are going to be removed by the people that end up cutting the trees. So it's a highly high level of communication and direction on the ground, from flagging trails, where the machines are going to go, where they're not allowed to go. Everything's laid out very, 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 very intensely on the ground. So there's no misunderstandings, there's no compromises or problems from that standpoint of getting the work done well. The people that are engaged are professionally trained and very reputable operators. And that project over there was discussed, and we spoke about different options of methods to get the work cut, and we ended up deciding to go with bidding it out to a cut to length, which is a system. It's mechanical. It's a cutting system that it's all machinery based harvesting. So the machine that cuts the tree, and then it delimbs at the stump, which is all the slash I think some folks are concerned about, the limbs. And then that stem, once it's delimbed, it's then cut to length. And then what is taken out of the woods is just the stem portion of the tree. So what happens there is after that wood is cut to length by that machine, it's then picked up by a forwarder, which is also on wheel-to-track systems, and it's carried out of the woods. So it's a very different system. It's highly utilized in southern New England, all over the place. It's a Scandinavian system, and people that walk on jobs, get different senses and concerns, and usually boils down to slash. And so that system there makes slash because it delimbs on site. It's just like a chainsaw when you cut the limbs and leave the limbs, but it's a mechanical project.
So in that particular case, all of those limbs are left in place?
Correct.
Actually, I think that answers my second question, because years ago, when we did down on the road to the transfer station, that project, I think, was done in the same way.
That's right.
Steve and I talked about that a
Yep.
long time ago. It's the same.
That's right.
Same operation. So
So-
everything is left there. Jeff, one of the things that I was thinking, does that create quite a forest fire hazard?
No, not in New England. New England, we've got way more experience with the fire side of it.
So with that system that Jeremy's talking about, so New Hampshire has slash laws that go way back to, probably the 30s when there were a lot of big fires. Slash height in New Hampshire has to be below 4 feet. you look at the slash height from the silvicultural system that Jeremy's talking about, you know, going in there and he's marking out, probably even age in that case, going in and logging with that system. It's actually compacting those limbs into the ground, and that reduces your ground impact, you know, to the soil, so you're not having soil compaction, which ends up being not great for the forest. You know, it takes a while to recover from soil compaction. So that's part of that whole process. And those limbs that are all compacted, because they're close to the soil, they have more moisture that's you know, letting them decay. They're also, you know, that we've done forestry for a long time, both of us, and you know, both of us have that educational background. You know, we think about aesthetics and walking in the woods, and we think about the different logging systems. You know, like a whole tree chip job may look better to some people. You have to have really wide spacing, and it takes all of the limbs out of the woods. But there's science behind to say that, you know, you're actually taking nutrients out in all those fine branches, whereas this system is actually leaving that all in there to decompose and become part of the soil. So that's always a struggle with forestry, is that visual perception, or even, you know, just that there is slash in the woods that you got to walk through, versus your management goals. Also having all that stuff on the ground, you know, the poor farm's pretty flat, but you get in some areas that maybe have slopes. That's providing protection against erosion as well. And it provides a lot of micro habitats for seedlings to really get established, you know, little initial shelter. You've got more, when you're thinking about reptile and amphibian habitat, there's more cover that's left on the ground for those species to actually use. So there's a whole, you know, series of things that go into really planning this and picking which system is going to be best. And then even to think about when we go in and choose whatever the management is, and that's whether it's burning or if it's going in and you know, harvest. First, we're kind of looking at what the situation is on the ground, what our goals are, and mostly, you know, in Weare, really a lot of the favorable species are oak and pine, good wildlife species. We've got some sugar maple here and there. We've got some rich soils. You know, Jeremy's tried to maintain some of the hemlock stands that are around. That you might see those all go in our lifetime because of hemlock woolly adelgid. You may all have heard about emerald ash borer. These are all things that we're responding to in our management. I guess the other thing too, I really want to point out, and I know you didn't mention it, Jeremy's had some actual learning opportunities that are, you know, advertised to the public. I believe Poor Farm was one of them, right? We worked with PLC.
Yeah, I was going to get to that, but yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
But I think as far as fire, there's really no increased danger at all from that kind of logging.
Why did the distinction, when you log the Eastman Conservation Area, the areas of that you did, you use the other method that you're talking about, where you basically cleaned out all the chips and sold them off separately too.
Right.
Did you choose a different method here because of the location, or because of the market being different, or what differentiated between those two projects?
So the Eastman property has a much different history of management. The Eastman property had been cut quite a bit and a bit more aggressively, and a lot of the work that's been planned there is more rehabilitation because of past high grading and cutting of, you know, a lot of this type of size class is absent, and there's a lot of younger stuff that's lower quality or poor quality wood. So with the whole tree cutting system, that machinery can harvest much smaller weeds and thinning out more of the, like you said, the tending and weeding and thinning of smaller trees. So if you contrast that over to Poor Farm has had a very long tenure of wise stewardship and growing larger trees, and this type of system, like I said, is strictly a round wood. In other words, it just cuts the stem, and then it carries round wood logs or pulpwood. So the removals and optimizations of what's cut and marketed is typically much higher. in value because it's just a round wood system. It's not put into a chip product and made into a much lower value product. So that was a big part of it. The other big part is, like Steve was talking about, that property doesn't need rehabilitation. It has a very high quality, larger size class, and to put machines in that can navigate much less linear. The chipping system is a skidder and it pulls the whole tree. The whole tree's 80 to 110 feet in length, plus the skidder, which is often 20 to 30 feet long. So you have this linear dynamic of 150 feet often, and typically that's a linear layout. With this cut to length, the forder carries the wood and it tracks, and I like to call it, it's like a horse job on steroids. It's very slow, it's methodical, and the machines that are removing the wood can move around the stone wall system. There's a lot of cultural stone walls and historical monuments on that property. There's a ton of trails, so there's a lot of wetlands. There's a lot of variables that are sensitive to harvest removal. So the cut to length often is a really top choice for that type of situation. The other thing that I'll add with that, knowing different properties have different sensitivities, the recreational use historically has been quite high there. It's a small neighborhood, and frankly, it's a pretty quiet area. So to be sensitive of that, I suggested to the commission, and I often do this with every single harvest, that we take on the opportunity of a teachable moment. And so with that particular project, I spoke with the commission, and they encouraged me to proceed. So I worked with some other partners. So I worked with the Scottiqua Land Conservancy, and then New Hampshire Cooperative Extension. And so the county forester and then the land trust were very interested in co-hosting with the town, and we put out a mailing regionally, and we got over 40 people on a Saturday of all ages, and we conduct while there was active logging there, we had 40 plus people from the public that came, and I would say about a quarter of them were, and it's typical, they're very suspect and not very interested in the bright side of things. But as you walk and talk, and it's a tactile event, the seeing and learning the story of the work and the people that are in the motion of it, it's a pretty powerful arrangement. So, because so many of us are easy to look at something and judge it quite quickly without knowing anything. But when you're in a workshop like that and seeing and learning what's going on, it was very successful. And the county forester, spoke from a third-party standpoint of the science the town was practicing, the type of machinery, the slash loads that are considered messy are very well celebrated in science and explained in workshops that good forestry isn't a pretty clean thing. It's often just kind of messy, and biologically, the more structure or mess or debris you have, the more exciting and more diversified the system is. So superficially, it's a mess, but biologically, when it's done well and appropriately in the right place, it's a really good thing.
So was this an on-site workshop?
Yeah, it was a Saturday from 9 to 1, I think it was. And we've had them at a few other places too.
Now, after the company moves out, the actual, the trees have been harvested and everything, they're done, they're out. What's the time frame that you usually like to try to get back and inspect it yourself?
I'm on site at least once a week during the whole active project. On town projects, it's usually twice a week, so I'm there from start to end, and I'm there as your agent to enforce, your interests and the contract between the operator and you folks. So, you know, they're obligated to be highly professional and like any contract, you know, meet and exceed what's required. So clean up and law abiding and all the, you know, ethics of conducting a good timber sale is reviewed and made sure they're compliant.
You know, with the poor farm, and I drove down there afterwards, and again, not a forester, I don't know anything about, you know, but it looks like hell, absolute hell.
Hell?
It looks like hell in there. It looks terrible.
Wow.
To me, as Joe Public driving through
Yep.
it, going, what happened here? Did a tornado go through? You know, it looks terrible, and mostly because of the slash that's left and the heights of the trees. You know, the stumps that are left, I should say. Is there any, and again, being completely uneducated to that side of it, is there any real negative impact that is you know, that would be detrimental to the regrowth and you know, everything you explained, to say reducing the slash amount by 25% or something of that nature?
Well, that can be done with using a whole tree harvest system. But if you're
Obviously, you want to leave some there, though, which you know, you've explained that, but
Sure.
you know, the amount that's there seems excessive. So if you were to reduce that amount that was left by 25%, you know, say don't limb the whole thing. I mean, I understand, you know, once it falls it down, it you know, sends it. But I don't know. Again, it's being totally ignorant to it, but just like it looks like there's a lot excessive slashing on the ground. I don't know. Like I said, I didn't know if that, you know, like I said, a reduction of that slash by 25%, would it be detrimental to your overall projected, you know, what you want to get accomplished, or you know, and it would clean it up a little bit to Joe taxpayer driving by, or would that be absolutely out of the question due to what you guys are trying to accomplish?
Yeah. In that particular project, you know, that would be, I don't know how you. What would happen is you change the cutting system to a bit much bigger impact of more machines. It would be like out behind Tops, where you need a very large landing, and Poor Farm has all this archaeological, you know, cemeteries, all these Poor Farm
Correct. Yep.
old sites, and you know, just the facility to make the landing work for that removal of another 25%, it would change that whole sense of place in a sort of a dimension that I think would really upset people even more. Yeah, absolutely.
So, this is really a lot of information to try to convey, and especially without all the, you know, the graphics. So, you know, first I want to say we have a, every 2 or 3 months Jeremy comes to a Conservation Commission meeting, so we can definitely go into a lot more detail if y'all want to come. But one thing with your question, all right, so when we go ahead in forestry and we're setting up a harvest, we're using a thing called the stocking guide for the, usually we're doing even age management for the species that we have. And Jeremy and his crew are measuring what's existing in the forest, looking at age classes. And then we have, you know, like fully stocked to be like the A line. There's actually a chart and, you know, B diameters. So we're reducing down to the B line, which is, you know, most of the time probably what's going on if it's a thinning, or if it's regeneration cut, then you're looking at doing what's called a shelter wood, where, you know, we're just leaving maybe 40 to 50 or 60 square feet of basal area, which is the cross section of the stump. So, so really, you know, what he's been conveying is that, you know, if you go in and said, all right, we're going to whole tree chip this, then our spacing needs to get a lot wider.
Correct.
If we don't have the straight shots, and it really affects kind of what we're trying to do as far as the management practice. And I think, you know, I guess is sometimes we lose sight really ecologically or even in geological periods how short, you know, 10 or 15 years really is in the big scheme of things. So we're looking at this, you know, in year one. And I guess, you know, if we went out there and we took a picture of year 1 and a picture of year 5 and a picture of year 10, there's that kind of thing out there. You know, pretty soon vegetation's going to be up here, the regeneration, you know, the advanced regen you're going to get. You're not really going to notice any of that. So I'd almost encourage you to not really think about immediate aesthetics. Like, I work for the tracking station. I can vividly remember doing a clear cut and having a major say, "Steve, this looks like hell." But when it's 5 feet high and there's a moose standing in the middle of it, does it look like hell anymore? So there's a lot of different species, a lot of different things. We really get hung up on aesthetics instead of, looking at the good forestry part of it. So really encourage everyone to think about that more and see if we get by just aesthetics. So, when I look at there's things that we drive down 114 we probably see that aren't aesthetically pleasing, right, all over the place. But this will change rather quickly if we followed it. So you keep going there year after year, look at the species, because not only will you see the wood debris will rot, the species that are using it are going to change, they're going to go through this evolution. There's a lot biologically going on.
So it would change it, and that answers
Yeah.
my question. It would totally change what your long-term goal is.
Good, yeah.
Now, you mentioned keeping the slash low to the ground so it actually stays more moist. Do you actually run your equipment over it to pack it down?
Yeah, so it's different guys do different things, but with that European cutting system, all that was part of the design engineered in Europe. That's all they'll use because of the ecological power of leaving small, woody, high nutrient dense pieces of wood left on the ground, which is that slash. It's that thing that people feel is messy. So with that system, when it delimbs, typically it's delimbed in a manner so it collapses quite easily, and then often the machines mat and run over it to keep the impact of the machines off from the soil base. So the compaction, like Steve mentioned before, is prevented by the delimbing, making the slash, and then the machines running over it and then dropping the elevation of it to a lower point. And just to kind of get back to Ricky's question, the slash loads not only are nutrient dense additionalities to your soil systems, which are one of the most fragile resources we have, but it creates, like I alluded to before, that biology, but it also creates a energy barrier for, I know this is all high level stuff, but it creates an energy barrier for browsing species, notably white-tailed deer and such, and there's a lot of science and professional push to keep these slash loads heavy to prevent energy efficient feeding of browse, because most of the trees we're trying to grow, red oak mainly, are like chocolate ice cream to browsing animals. So if you're trying to, the art and science of trying to grow a new age class of young trees is often hampered in high deer density areas, and so this gives the species a chance to just get going. Whereas when you clean things and broom it with a whole tree system, it's very easy to go and eat whatever you want as much as you want,
And there is a chance.
yeah, so the regeneration does have a difficult. And another thing, back to Ricky's point about it perceptually looking like hell, the 40 some odd folks that went there, and some of them clearly did have a preconceived notion that this was a bad thing. And I don't think one person left there intending to write to the town and saying what a miserable, unprofessional, poor stewardship you guys are doing. And I think if we didn't conduct that, you probably would have seen some people expressing that. And then you got the county forester, the third party, whose role is to outreach and enhance public understanding of managing resources, saying, this is as good as it gets. You got really high level efforts of professional engagement and just cutting edge progressive methods and science in action on a pretty important property. I'm happy to go for a hike too with you guys if you would want to go on site and look at anything especially this project that has been a concern to some folks.
Well, I have to say, because I had a call from a taxpayer, so I did go up and look at it, and, oh my God, I mean, it looked like something I would do if I went out. And,
You know what you're doing.
No, unfortunately, I don't, and that's what it looked like,
Yeah.
but, you know, I have to, you know, say what, you know, go along with what Ricky said. I mean, now listening to you,
Yeah.
as to, and having it explained, and if you're going to be at some of the conservation meetings or whatever, if we, you know, could be advised to that, and, you know, if there's anybody that I get contacted by again, then I'd suggest they go too, to hear you. So, I mean, you know, it'd be advantageous.
Yeah.
If there's anybody else that might go up there and think the same thing we did.
Yeah, I do a quarterly report with the commission.
Okay.
You know, I show up every quarter and give them what we've done to date, what's going on now, what we're looking to do down the road, and,
Okay.
you know, kind of the whole cookbook of then and now and coming up. And
What do you see, John, sorry, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, we've been waiting.
Before I had a couple of other questions that
Sure.
are not related to the.
I've had several people in town come to me and say that you are taking too much off the trip. It looks like you're after the money dollar, and you're not looking forward 15, 20 years from now, take another cut off. When do you expect to take do another cut off, 4 or 5?
it's scheduled probably in 10 years, probably to date.
I doubt it. I don't think you'll make it. I really don't. I logged for 15 years of my life, so it's not something new to me. You know? People come to me ever since probably 4 or 5 years, even when I was down at the transfer station. What are these guys doing?
It's a change, right? It's a
You know,
big disturbance,
I mean,
cutting
why don't you
trees.
go in and just do a selective cut? And then leave the rest of it. Don't chip it, just do a selective cut. I can think of another property the town owns right now, I hunted it, it's beautiful. I just can't wait to see how you ruin it.
Ruin it, yep.
Because I guarantee you're gonna go in there, I mean, the pine are in there like that, it's beautiful stuff. You could go in there and take 50, 60,000 feet off, 5, 6 years, do it again. But I'll guarantee you're gonna go in there and take it off one trip.
John, would you be open to going for a hike out in the woods and chewing it?
It's just like the last one you just did on Chevy Hill. It appears to me you've made it into a hardwood lot. And there again, it's not gonna cut off for probably 20 years.
Was that a town project?
Yep,
Yeah.
that was, and
Yeah, did it just during the winter.
summer, last summer. Maybe it was a different one. Mario Pelletier cut up there in the winter and made
Well,
a,
hardwood's good, this one.
yep, so, no, we were there in the summer, last summer.
I don't know if we're talking about the same thing. I'm
Chevy.
talking about one that's closer to the turn, the sharp corner there. Was that a town?
Bartlett.
It wasn't your
No, I'm
project?
talking right up, for Shady Hill.
Shady Hill, I thought you said Shady Hill.
Chevy Hill.
Well, it was at the end of Chevy Hill. Chevy Hill's off Shady Hill.
Hmm?
Chevy Hill is off of Shady Hill.
Yeah, I know where Shady Hill
Oh,
is.
it's not on the sharp corner. No, that was a
No.
private job done by Curtis.
Yeah, but that's the one that was disturbing to me. That part about stripping it right out
But I
of
mean,
nothing.
that's what people come to me, and they don't like the amount you take.
Can I just say something about Port Farm? I know I wasn't clear to speak about that.
Sure. It's kind of your territory too here.
I'm certainly not as educated as these two guys, but I log, I'm fourth generation logger as far as I know. And I've seen logging practices from Oregon to New Hampshire, because I grew up in Montana, as all you guys know. This is the only part of the country they chip. Out west, all the slash stays, or a certain percentage gets hauled to Landon and stroked to limb or to limbs, but they have to leave a certain amount on the ground for habitat. But I walked 2 weeks ago, Port Farm, a certain one end of it, and I stood on top one plateau and was looking, and I could probably cut 30,000 feet standing in one spot behind that dig. I'd love to go be the next guy to cut it. It was far from harvested that hard in that area. I didn't walk to 160 acres, but the pine was phenomenal in there. And I saw with the wood that the guy hauled out, and he hauled a lot of low-grade pulp out of that place. like to go visit loggers when they're operating. So I hate to have the misperception of that. I know some people drive by and think that. You really need to take a hike and look, especially at that jog, because that's been so much controversy. And the brush is much lower. I actually was standing on a checkered adder, so apparently the wildlife like it. The deer is unbelievable in there, so yeah, I don't think it's as bad as it looks from the road. Some trees are blown over. That's unfortunate for the aesthetics of it, but that happens anytime you cut trees. And if you go right now and drive from the road and look in, I challenge you, look 200 feet, because the only growth is growing up here, and the leaves are popped out on hardwoods. And 'cause I've been working around a house up there, so I've been going up every weekend, really looking it over. And I took it upon myself to take a walk, so I see what's left. And there's some giant pine in there. So.
Now, in the, whatever you call it, when you take everything out, you said that because of the history of the Eastman property, you had to do it a different way. Do you expect that to regenerate better because of that, as far as new growth?
On the Eastman property?
Yeah.
The Eastman property, because of cutting, so every time there's an action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That property history up there was cut. Arguably, some people would say it was wrongly cut. Other people would say it was rightly cut. When they cut in there, they cut a lot of the value out, and when they cut, there was a lot of acorn loads, so there's so it regenerated pretty well 15, 20 years ago. So there's a lot of, so regeneration really wasn't an objective with that system up back. There were we did a couple small patch cuts, maybe 1 acre to 2 acres, and some aspen cohorts, which is a group of poplar, and that's how they regenerate. But so regenerating wasn't a big initiative, but we did have a seed year that year, and there is, seedling oak coming along from the disturbance.
It's unrelated to the logging, but how widespread is this emerald ash borer in Weare?
So just a quick cap, it came into this country in Detroit 19 years ago. Detroit, the port, from Asia, and it's now, I think, in over 20 states, including New Hampshire. It's in this county, it's in this town, and wherever, if you fly over Ohio or you get out into some of the Ohio Valley states, there's no ash left. The ash that's left is small or stump sprouts, but you fly over, drain wherever there's water, drainage is out there, it's kind of dry, but the ash is just, it's been dead for a long time. The state, New Hampshire state entomologists and best management practices and workshops and outreach efforts encourage every single landowner in this state to cut as heavy as the landowner is comfortable with the ash resource. I'm not implementing that, but the entomologists of the state are encouraging landowners and foresters to cut the ash as heavy as they possibly can.
And will that slow down the progress?
That's what they're hoping for.
I think it's more like just salvage in the commercial value though too, because ash, big ashes are valuable. I think it was Jen that stood up at the SAF meeting 2 years ago and said basically cut them all.
Yeah. Market, but it is to slow it down biologically because the bug needs big trees, and the more big trees there are, the more they thrive. But it's a bug, it's like the mosquito, the black fly,
No, there was
trying to get rid of them for a long time.
an issue in Concord with red pine. Is that a widespread issue too in New Hampshire, or was that localized?
That's more localized in this Merrimack Valley, but that's another exotic out of another part of the world from free trade. Most pests we deal with.
Same with the hemlock.
Right? Yeah, the woolly adelgid, same thing.
15, 20 years, you may not see an hemlock tree.
Right?
There you go.
Right.
Anybody have any questions that have been answered yet?
still got more.
Yeah,
It's not that easy.
well, Steve's got one more, as far as forestry.
Yep.
If you don't need Jeremy anymore, Steve has one other.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Just,
Oh, yes.
Oops.
Andy Fulton, Chair of the Commission. I did just want to pass along something from New Hampshire Fish and Wildlife I picked up the other day. I thought it spoke to the question. You know, one thing that we lose sight of when we see the park-like effect in some, you know, well-established areas where we as humans enjoy it is there's a lot of wildlife that cannot enjoy that mature habitat. So, and one of our management goals is to have a diversity of habitat, and to get a young habitat these days in the woods does require disruption, and does require things that are aesthetically unpleasing, does require terrain that's difficult to walk through afterwards even. So we want to be sensitive to, you know, how our populace is using the forest, but we also want to, as a town, encourage, or as a conservation commission, encourage some of this young habitat that looks like great disruption, but it's actually a great opportunity for some forest creatures, or some forest and field edge primarily creatures that that wouldn't be there in the sort of majestic, if you will, old growth style forest. So some disruption is necessary to have a diverse habitat. And Fish and Game recognizes that and encourages landowners to manage forests with some of this in mind too. So we're trying to be sensitive as a commission in our planning. If there are specific areas where residents have mentioned that they, you know, like a particular view, or there's a particular stand that has some, you know, significance, extra significance. If we know about that, we're sensitive to it, we can work around it. We do have complete trust in our forester and the science that's behind this. You know, he won't tell you, but he's a giant in the industry and going to be at this for a long time. So we're completely comfortable, and hopefully in working with us, maybe coming to some of his quarterly reports, you guys can become more comfortable. And I think we've made some progress, and there'll definitely be more progress. And as more people come to town, you know, from afar and make it their home, they kind of get fixed in their mind what something looks like, and then you change it on them. It doesn't feel, you know, very pleasant. So we're going to be dealing with this in a responsible fashion for a long time to come, and you know, we do hope to work with members of the board on that, and not only explain things, but make ourselves available to talk with the folks who are expressing their concerns to you. And so we encourage you, let us know, and also expect of us that we'll interact with you on it. Not always going to be pleased all the time, and that's okay, but you know, we're here to work with you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have that? I made a couple of colors.
Oh, you did?
I only made 3 though.
Okay, so who gets color, who gets my crappy black and white?
It was getting thin, so.
Alright.
Can I have the brochure?
Oh, the brochure.
Brochure?
Yeah.
Anybody else want one?
John, can I have the brochure? Oh.
How'd you want one? Sure. There.
Jan, you getting cold? You want me to shut the air off? Okay.
I don't want to disturb everybody else. It's cold, so I'm sorry.
So you're looking at a map of the Chipmunk Falls area. It's been a priority to conserve that area since we were working as an open space committee. There's an open space plan. We've had a landowner that has approached us with lots 40179 and 40181. When you look I guess you got the color one there that has the town-owned parcels that surround that, and then there's some other conservation easements in the general area. So Chipmunk Falls is the tallest falls in Weare, right, Andy?
What were the lot numbers again, Steve?
It's 40179
Yep.
and
Look at the key.
40181.
Okay.
We previously, fairly recently worked with Piscataquag Land Conservancy to purchase 40180, which is right at the falls. So I believe with if we're able to acquire 81, we'll pretty much have straight across the falls. And that'll interconnect all of our properties. We're in the preliminary stages, so just wanted to give you all a brief, make sure there was some general support. We don't need to take any action at this time. We'd be looking to probably purchase it's a combination, let's see, I think both of them are a total of 30 acres. I think 79 is 24 and lot 81 is 6. Purchase to be approximately at the assessed value. It seems pretty close in that area, right around 2,000 acre or so. We work with Piscataquag Land Conservancy on the Phillips tract with the long-term understanding that we would probably place an easement, on the property. So in this case, we'd have a much bigger conservation area to potentially put an easement on, and kind of makes a lot of sense. These two properties really join it all together. We haven't had a chance to discuss as a commission if we would turn this into a town forest or if it would be conservation land and which fund we'd actually use. We're going to need to hold a public hearing. Typically what we've done and what we're asking from PLC right now is their willingness to go ahead and get a transferable purchase and sale agreement in place for us, and then we'll go ahead and start doing all the due diligence. In this case, we're kind of at that dollar threshold where it may not make any sense to do a limited appraisal, because we think it's probably, the verbal agreement's probably pretty reasonable. Our assessment's probably pretty close. So we're not sure if we haven't really discussed in great detail, but I think the general consensus at the last Conservation Commission meeting was probably not to, go with an appraisal in this case, just to save some money.
So you're talking about a land purchase, not an easement purchase?
No, it's supposed to be a land purchase, working with PLC, but sort of similar to like Eastman, where the eventual goal is to have a conservation easement given to PLC. So we would be the fee owners, PLC would have an easement. The terms would be different than the Eastman one. Like the Eastman one, we have, I think it was folks from Mildred Hall Committee were interested in no motorized recreation. That's turning out to be kind of hard to enforce, but those are always negotiable. But the general thing is just no future development. So just tonight, wanted to let you all know about that, just see if there is generally consensus or if there are any adverse feelings to moving ahead with the project.
Now, does PLC own or do they hold conservation easements on the other town-owned pieces that are surrounding that?
No, not currently. They worked with us on the Phillips, the 40180, and that was the kind of the handshake agreement that the ultimate goal would be to get a bigger conservation area going in there with placing under easement eventually. If you remember, there was a town vote that we put on a warrant article a few years ago now, but it basically authorized the commission to enter into easements to protect land with the town-owned property. So it's already green lighted as far as the voters go. The Board of Selectmen, because it's a property transfer, have to obviously approve any easement, but there was a pretty broad consensus to do that.
So would you be looking at not only those two new pieces of property, but looking at a bigger piece for the PLC to oversee?
Yeah, yep. And one thing that we've done a lot of, I guess, you might remember on like the Eastman when it came up about, blazing. So we would go through and do all the monumentation, the survey work, make sure everything was well marked out, I'm thinking about the yellow spots on the trees and
they're fading slowly.
We'll send it back out.
One thing on that, Tom, is to this point, the color shows us really well. We had there have been a bunch of disparate lots. The two long, skinny ones were designated conservation through town warrant. They were property that was forfeited, and the one up top there, 40177, that was a purchase. that we made probably about 8 or 9 years ago. So we've had pieces here and there, and those are very hard to maintain under an easement or even get to the point of drafting the easement, because there's, relative to how much property there is internal, there's a lot of boundary. And boundary is difficult to, first to establish sometimes, but then to maintain. So by working with this lot 79 in particular, we're sort of eliminating a lot of that internal difficulty with the boundaries and really starting to build a parcel that makes better conservation sense and get into an aggregate size that's more manageable, where your internals are worth all the effort that has to go in to mark out your external boundaries. So it's moving in a good direction, I guess I'd say.
So this is mostly informational for us.
At this point, yeah, there's no reason to take any action tonight, but just to hear from the board if there's, generally support for the project.
Now with this, and getting them all connected and everything like that, I know there was previous discussion a while back, anything with like putting like trails out there, with the Trails Committee?
I'm glad you brought that up. So the Trails Committee seems to be defunct at this point.
Right.
But we have, so I don't know if you've noticed, we went ahead and awarded a trail management plan that also has development to a company called Sinuosity from Vermont. And boy, Mariah and forget, but yeah, they came down. We essentially had a good kickoff meeting. Had a lot of discussion on town priorities. Now, right now, we focused on the big town forest parcels because they have the most opportunity. These smaller parcels, we'll have to add those later on. But
Right.
yeah, absolutely. That's
Because I'm just thinking, if we get those connected, like you said, the falls. I mean, it's it'd be great to put a trail out there to the falls to see them.
yeah.
And be marked well. So I didn't know if that was moving forward or not.
One thing to remember on that is one of the keys to a good trail is a good trailhead, and we don't have that just yet. We've spoken with another property owner that, and actually it was Paul Dosher spoke to the property owner probably 3 or 4 years ago, on a sort of property that would provide that abundant area of frontage on public road. This is basically, to this point, doesn't have frontage.
Right.
It's
Yeah, 'cause the
accessible
road's
via
right here.
private road, but at this point, that's not a good public way to it. We've got some, grander ideas, and if the landowners are interested, then we'd like to be able to move forward on some of those things. But to this point, we don't have that great trailhead just yet. But if you'd like, anyone here, you'd like to go out to the falls, let me know. Even as recent I haven't heard the results of this rain, but the heavy rains we had a week and a half ago for this early summer, the falls were pounding, and I live close by. It's pretty remarkable. The volume of sound that it generates and projects across the landscape towards 114.
Oh, sure.
I think actually under calm air conditions with the high rain, I think standing at the football field at John Stark, you'd be able to hear it.
Wow.
So is the shortest access route actually through, was it Hemlock Drive?
It is off the end of Hemlock Drive through private property.
Yeah, right now, the town's right away in there. We would go down the private drive, just like any of those other lots. That's one way in there. The neighbors seem like they're somewhat opposed to having, a lot of foot traffic or whatever going in and out of there. I'm not sure what kind of a issue that'll turn into, but, I live on a private road and you can't stop people from walking up and down, and so I don't know, what they're thinking there, because we own, a couple parcels that have access through the private road at this point. But like Andy said, the desirable access point would be off the town paved road, if we can eventually get that. But, you know, speaking of this, so this trails plan, I mean, we're thinking about having a, like a public type forum was a part of our discussion, but anyone who wants to be engaged, you know, come to a Conservation Commission meeting.
There's a scout project, I think, up in the Eastman. They put in a nice little trail that extends down to a beaver pond.
Yeah, I'm not sure of that one.
Yeah, they put in a little kiosk there.
Kiosk with a map.
Right at the top of Pine Hill Road. And I think maybe they just did it on their own, or
I don't know. It's all starting to blur together. I mean, it's been like so many years of dealing with it, you know, it gets after a while. But, yeah, I really, you know, appreciate the continued engagement and support from the Board of Selectmen, all the different people that have been on it since I've been on the Conservation Commission. It's pretty cool. And I think the neat thing is we've got this really big system of public lands in Weare, and you know, through the reinvestment of town forest revenue, you know, we keep adding to that, and we keep doing a lot of good active management that we're not asking the taxpayers to fund. You know, we're using revenue that's generated.
Absolutely. Anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Minutes of June 5th, all 10 pages.
Yeah.
Oh, was it 10 pages?
Huh?
Was it 10 pages?
Yeah,
Close to.
That's it's 3 of 10.
Is the lady who's doing planning board going to take over us at some point?
Fall.
And when we go to weekly, I'm not doing it.
I asked the same thing.
Yeah, when we go to weekly,
Remember that discussion?
No.
yeah, it was when we went back to weekly.
Yeah. I must have been spacing it.
Okay.
Happens.
So much other stuff's going on.
On page 1, where it says presentation of the new DPW garage, third line down, I just inserted the word to, about 2/3 of the way over. He would like to have questions raised from the audience to be asked through the chair. And then next paragraph down, toward the end, how does the design process work? I put in the word "the" before design, and I crossed out the word "would." Anybody else have stuff on the first page? Page 2, the only thing I have about halfway down where it said Steve tank, I changed it to steel tank. Anybody else on that page? I had a question on page 3. 2/3 of the way down with, it just says firewall, colon, a 1 hour firewall. I thought that was more than a 1 hour firewall, and the one that was part of the plan.
The one that's part of the plan is a 3.
Is a 3 hour.
3 hour. This was the one
But
that
the one that's
additional
being
one.
suggested is a 1 hour.
Was a 1 hour further down the building.
Yeah, I don't, is that what this is about?
Yes.
Yeah, between the two sections, yes. They're gonna make 2 sections.
Ask the firewall lady.
Right.
But Mr. DeCosta stated that it is a 1 hour firewall. Why would he be stating it?
That was being proposed.
That was being
It was being
proposed. They
proposed.
asked the question, somebody asked the question, what was
Right.
the rating of it?
That was the question I had there. I didn't have any changes, I just wanted to make to clarify that. I didn't have anything on page 4, anybody? Page 5, second paragraph, near the end, Ms. Stogner stated that she hasn't looked, rather than looked into it yet.
Stated that she would have to look into it further.
She hasn't looked into it yet, and she wanted,
Oh, yeah, stated, okay, it's at the very top, I was looking at it. Stated that she hasn't, looked, it shouldn't be looking, look.
yeah. And then drop down 2 lines right underneath that, and just cross out the word "do" and put in "so."
Yep.
State so it would. And then, down, second paragraph from the bottom. There are areas surrounding chiefs. That sounded awkward to me, so I just changed it to there are chiefs in surrounding areas.
I was just cutting to the chase.
Anybody else on anything on that page?
Mm.
Page 6, moving along. Second paragraph, a little more than halfway over, first line. Elaine Kirk stated that the 8 months indicated on the first section, and I put in a comma, cross out the word which. As it is explained, comma, is the amount of time to begin.
Yep.
Okay. And then we skip down to the third paragraph, third line up. Mr. Butt stated that, just cross out the word the, under salary requirements, then a comma, given this amount, comma, equates to. Anything else on that page? Page 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, fourth paragraph down, I changed community to commuting. Anything else on that page?
No.
I didn't have anything on page 8, anybody?
No.
Page 9, I just crossed out correspondence because that really isn't correspondence under there. Chase Park fees, DPW garage, it wasn't really part of correspondence, so
No.
I just crossed out the word correspondence. Anything else on that page? Final page, anything? I got one thing. Underneath the bold, where we have the paragraph that starts selectmen meeting moved, 2 lines up at the bottom. It says where has, and I think you want it all one word, whereas. Last 2 months, whereas the lieutenant has been out on leave.
Yep.
Are we good? Move to approve the minutes of June 5th as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Manifests. Manifest is always a mouthful nowadays.
Thank God for a template.
I move that we order the treasurer to sign the payroll and accounts payable checks dated June 22nd, 2017, as including the following manifests. Weekly payroll, or payroll manifest, $61,839.69. Weekly, monthly, and quarterly payroll. Accounts payable manifest of $64,249.95. And a Weare School District manifest of $513,228, for a total of $640,017.63. The following manifests were ordered to be signed on June 5th. June 5th for the Selectmen's meeting. Payroll manifest for 6/15/17 for $42,523, and accounts payable manifest of $13,161.04, also checks dated 6/15/17. And since there's no selectmen's meeting scheduled for Monday, June 26th, also we would like to order the treasurer to sign payroll checks dated June 29th, estimated to be about $55,000. Furthermore, to order the treasurer to sign up to the amount of $40,000 for accounts payable that cannot wait until the next scheduled meeting of July 3rd, 2017, without incurring late charges or interest. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion on the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting. Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I have you signed one other one and it didn't get put in there. I didn't want to confuse the issue even more, but we have one more junkyard license that needs to be signed. So I'm going to pass that down the table to share with you. You already did Allied, so you have Weare Body and Frame. Those are the only two. So that's the Weare Body and Frame one. For government buildings, we talked about kind of earlier with Sean our plan for the next couple of weeks. As I had said, I did go back and find my team engineering, which was the whole discussion and the diagrams that I think it's worthy to share with everyone of what they found and what they saw when they dug everything up, as well as the diagram and what they need to do per team engineer. So that'll be shared so everybody has the same. Because if you guys remember, I know John and Jan weren't here, but we just asked them to look at it, and we had two different prices, two different areas, but they had two different ways of doing things too. So this is the preferred method that we said we would use. This is what's going to go out to. I'm going to try to go back to the other ones, but I haven't had success in getting a return information back from two of the ones that went. And I don't know whether they were just busy, but I'll put it out there. We can only do what we can do.
We probably wouldn't want this done until probably early fall anyways, because of that.
Well, you've got Old Home Days in April, in August, and then you've got the Patriotic in July.
Yeah.
September.
Yep.
Right.
So that's where we sit with that one. And I said I just got information back, which I have to add to the installation of the doors. I just got the information back for the paint. So on the bottom, if you remember, what Tom talked about was changing the hinges to say, instead of contacting, it gave the business name to get the exact match, we're going to supply them. And then the paint specifications I'll add to the bottom and put those out too. Because I haven't heard back from anybody else that that's not the right thing of what we need to do. Hang on, let me get to the... so it's a gazebo. I guess I want to... For the list of projects, I mean, we've talked about the rotted sides and we've talked about the spires. To be able to get kind of a pecking order or a price, I've got to have somebody go look at that, correct?
Well, could we take the one person who did give
The
us
whole bid, yep.
the whole bid, broke it all down by
Okay.
project.
Yep.
So even though we'd have to go out individually
Right.
and put it out to other people, that would give us something to go by as we look at the total amount of money we've got. If we put those side by side, we'd be able to.
Okay.
You know, that may not be the cost, but it's.
Yeah, because I don't know, I think it was, no one actually put a ladder up to see how badly they're rotted. And the other set of spires has now come down. But as far as all the rot, because you may get into more than that, but he did give a ballpark.
Yeah. I think that for the upper part.
Upper meaning spires?
The tower.
Okay.
That, and again, this is just my opinion here, but we should get somebody to get up there and just repair the clapboards and put some paint on it so that it doesn't get worse. Even if you don't have money to do the spires and do the roofing and everything, at least protect what's there so it doesn't get any worse, because there are clapboards falling out of place.
And we did find the 8.
We do have the 8.
We found the 8.
Yeah, I know where that is, yeah.
Yeah.
I went over to the fire station to look at where they were planning that.
And there it was.
Yeah.
And there it was. So
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna take this back and put this in place. So it's in the owner's office.
Yeah, I think we should get somebody to go up and look at it, and you're saying repair the clapboards. If they're falling out of there, if the clapboards are falling off, that usually means there's some rot there someplace too.
Other things going on.
So there's something else going on. So I think at that point, have somebody go up and look at it, and then if it's something that can be temporary fix, but I don't wanna have temporary.
Yeah, I got
fix to
pictures
turn
when they
around
took
and sit there for another 10 years before they do it, so.
Go back and do it.
That's
Yeah.
not a problem, we sit here for
Yeah, well, I'm saying, it's like,
literally for me.
Because we do have, I
Well,
mean,
then-
when they took the spires down, there was some pictures. There was actually 2 sets, one when we took the first set down, and then one when we just took the last set down.
What clapboard's
Oh,
falling
true.
off to look and see what's in behind it.
I never
It-
climbed
it
up there,
probably
so.
means the water's gotten in there and it's rotted.
Hmm.
I think, it's a good possibility, so. Well, maybe just that the clapboard's rotted, so I mean, but it's you climb up there and actually look at it.
So you want me to get someone brave enough to climb up there
Yeah,
and
someone
poke
that's
around?
Brave enough,
And,
No, on my
Sure,
roof,
I
I throw
guess.
a rope over and I tie it to the porch and I go up the backside
mm,
to clean the chimney and things, but I don't think I'd want to do that in the town hall.
no, I mean, it's really tall. And the one person I knew that had a piece of equipment sold it, so,
I know who he sold it to.
yeah, I do too.
Why couldn't the fire department have a drill up there with a ladder
A
truck?
ladder truck, yeah.
Yeah.
I could ask
Try.
if you want to,
Yeah,
if you think that would be something that's, but somebody's going to have to climb the ladder that knows something about building. We're not going to set it on fire and then try to figure it out.
Yeah.
Just teasing. Just, I mean, I can see what we can do.
well, some of the stuff though, we can take that list that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and some of it doesn't require a lift.
No.
Oh, right,
It's ladder
right,
quick.
right.
And so, we can price some of that out and say, okay, where's the
Mhm.
priority on this?
And I think there was a good topic conversation raised at last year's deliberative session, and that I think that building itself, minus the doors are water under the bridge at this point. As far as the progress, it's something that we've already taken ahead to. But making a comprehensive list of items that need to be addressed with that building in particular,
Yeah.
and make a warrant article for it. I think that's really where that needs to go.
Separate, yeah. for
Correct,
separate.
and not to say that we shouldn't be, good agents to preserve what we have from getting worse per se. Our hands are kind of tied a little bit, and again, I mean, I totally follow the theory on the bell tower and the spires, but that back, cornice mold, the molding is not getting any better. And that's, again, that's a can of worms that probably needs to be investigated before we make, I'd rather see a lot of better investigation on the depth of these projects, what they're gonna be, rather than say, yeah, we're gonna replace that board, and then they rip it off and there's nothing behind it. And it just spirals out of control, and we have a warrant article that, say it passes for, just throw a number out there, 125, and, we back up and punt again, because now it's 150. I'd hate to see that, and especially, like I said, especially that building, because it has so many ailments to it, and the historical value. Again, we're gonna have the encumbrances that we have, like you said, the cameras, for instance, and moving the gazebo around, stuff like that. That to me is hit or miss. You don't know that's gonna come up. But the building, the town hall as a whole, we know has multitude of problems that really should be, to me, wrapped up in a warrant article.
And the two huge expenses that, in my mind, the two are the towers.
The bell tower work
and
as a whole.
windows.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the windows. The others are things that we could probably, like the rod, go to a contractor and say, see how deep this is, and there's a price.
Right. Even if they run a drill bit down in and do some, and do whatever they got to do, I'd rather see that all that clumped on a warrant article, than
As a one project.
right, as a
Yeah.
one project, and then on top of that, have an idea for the addition to the government building maintenance fund, a rough idea of what's going to be encompassed in that, whether it be a new roof for the gazebo, because that's coming, or whatever it may be, but have a list and say, we think approximately this, but we know what the town hall is going to be. We have an approximate list of these items that could be. This is why we're looking for this one on that warrant versus this warrant.
I think that, too, we should explore this concept of building committee. It doesn't have to be the draft that I
Mhm.
passed out, that was just.
Yeah, I haven't had
but-
Mary get a chance to pull that
but, you
together,
know,
but,
It would be better to have
mhm.
people working with us rather than the confrontation that we've had recently over
I agree.
the projects.
Right.
We just find knowledgeable people who want to see
Yep.
it done right in
Right.
town hall and say,
Right.
okay, well, join us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line, especially with the town hall. I mean, you want to put modern age stuff on there to get the longevity out of it, but you don't want to take away from the historical value.
Right.
So it's a fine line to run, and I totally understand that. So there's going to be more cost associated with that, and I totally get that.
Yeah, I think the windows are
And
one
it- yeah,
cost.
it needs, the windows need to be replaced, the tower and the spires need to be
Mhm.
replaced, but the other thing is this rod around the bottom, the foundation is the key
Mhm.
point. You
Right.
put the new stuff on top of it, and the bottom's falling away from it, you're not
You throw
addressing
money
it. I
at
mean,
the
so,
wind.
you know, like when you build a building, start from the bottom up, and again, start from the, see what it's setting on, see if.
Oh, we know what it's
the-
setting on.
the-
It's
the-
rough. It's-
Rough, the sill, you know, and you already know that the sills.
It's
and the-
rough cut lumber. It's
And-
serious.
And it's, you
Ain't
know,
go-
if it's
ain't going
rot,
anywhere.
no, but if some of it's rotted one corner, you just saw the whole building out of, you know, square or, no, there's not much probably, but I mean, you know what I mean, it's that you just throw it even more out, so.
Yep.
Right.
And I know that one of the people that looked at it, and they looked at some of it, and it was rotted right in the corner, something fierce, so I mean, you don't know how much it's, like I said, you don't know how much it's
Right.
gonna affect the rest of the structural integrity of the building.
Right.
So, like I said, you know, we look at the whole thing as a whole.
Yeah, and I think the numbers that we got that was broken down, I really think, we'll look at those numbers again, but I think that was pretty inclusive of
Pretty
labor,
close.
materials. And it was from someone that has a handle on, I think, the building industry.
Yeah.
I think that total was like 150, if I remember the total.
Right. Yeah, it was a big number.
Yeah.
Almost one set, it was like one.
But I'll dig that back out and share it with everybody once again, because we have 2 new board members, so I'll do that. The binder, I gave you the first quarter page, it doesn't really fit in there well, but that was more just to give you an idea of what was in there. The other pages to that MS9 form are really listed individually. There's cemetery lots, you know, because they're all for perpetual care. So that's the larger form we had that I drew the red lines. Between the red lines are really the 3 that I had and you had asked me for. And then you should have the May capital reserve. It's an 8.5 by 11.
Yep.
Okay. Transfer station, I have it under transfer station fees, but I think Beth sent you all Tuesday or Wednesday after we met last time. You got the budget, the revenues. And you see she also attached the 3 departments with their vehicles. Did you guys see that, or do you need me to make copies of those?
I think we have them.
Yep.
Oh, that's right, John, I'm sorry.
I can't even get them on my computer.
You can't?
Nope.
You can't, you having a PDF issue? Tom does sometimes.
I can get
I do
it,
too.
sometimes I can get PDF stuff, sometimes
Well,
I can't.
I know it's in color, I mean, and I can do color, but if somebody wants a printout, I don't mind making it, and I keep forgetting, John,
I
I
can
apologize.
open it, but I can't print, it's really
Like
weird.
some of the stuff the Chief Kelly sent me. I couldn't get it. Can't
It's
open it.
very
Says
weird.
you click blank string.
Yeah, I've had a couple of them.
Okay.
Had to go back and.
Because I don't think I can set it any other
View or
way.
download, so sometimes I end up downloading, then I can view it.
Yeah.
Switch it
I
one
haven't
way.
tried
The
that
only
yet.
way I can print out the minutes
Yeah,
and the agenda.
So go on the website.
area you send me,
yeah.
is to go to the website and print it out.
I just wonder if we have a different version of
I don't know.
PDF than you guys do.
Everything else, if I get something from Beth, I can print it out.
Yeah.
It's just, coming from
Yeah.
your 2 computers, those particular items,
Okay.
not everything. other things.
Because she's put together one each, if you were able to look at it, of the, I didn't print out the whole DPW because she's got 29 pieces of equipment. So I only did the cover sheet for the summary, but I'd be happy to share or print them if you want a hard copy. Copies.
Concerning the binder,
Yeah, I'm just gonna get another one. I'm not waiting for anybody to return them.
oh, I'm not thinking about.
Is that what you
missing
mean?
one, I'm just thinking.
No,
in
I've been
terms of,
missing.
You know, I know you got a lot on your plate, but over the course of the next couple of months, maybe there are things that are outdated, like the police contract, for example.
Yep.
We have an old one in there, we
Yep.
need a new one as well.
Yep.
Anything else that we've changed?
Okay. No, I owe 2. Actually, Jack, did you ever get one?
No.
Oh, I owe 3. So,
That's my mind.
no.
Guess that was the last one.
No, he
Whatever
kept
else
his. So many John copies. Locker room renovations, I think, I really felt tonight's discussion was some good, but at the same time, I think we have to prioritize. I think there just needs to be a priority.
Well, we need to get,
You know.
we need to, you know, we have to, before we can even consider it.
Well,
we
no,
gotta
you
find
have to
out
come
what
up with a
they-
list of things, but you
But the
also,
list of materials, what it's gonna cost, and
Right.
put, you know, do the part of the fire station, that
Right.
extend the mezzanine,
right.
and then look at what it's gonna do to renovate that other room.
'Cause I'm
Shouldn't be a
suspect-
lot,
No, but I'm
you know.
suspect too, there's been a couple of emails back and forth, and Benji's been part of it. There's been some, I don't know if the roof's leaking at the safety complex. There's been some tiles that are now wet. There's some carpeting that's wet, so I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Chief Vizina and I had talked about, you know, the age of that building, we ought to think about putting some money away for a new roof,
Yeah.
not, but I've heard,
5.
yeah, I think it's 10, 12 years old. I think it's 12 years old. But it just seems, you know, I don't really know other than where does water show up on a tile if it's not from above. You know what I mean? So I really don't know. We haven't really investigated, but I'll just throw that out there. That may be something.
Nothing telling.
Right now it's showing up in the lobby. Yeah, there was an odor of wet, damp, moldy, musty smell. And then this afternoon I got an email. There seems to be a tile or two that are showing wet. I haven't gone down there. So I don't know if it's plumbing, because I think if you take the tile out, there is some pipes there. I don't know. I have to have it looked at further. But just keep that on your back here. I know I'm not a fan favorite, I'm sure, for picking July 3rd, but that's our next meeting. I just want to make sure we are having 5-4. All right, just making sure. I don't want it to be all of a sudden. And the one other thing I have is, I'm not sure if everybody's aware of, and you guys, we do have election tomorrow at the Weare Middle School. It's going to be 7 to 7. It's really one question's on the ballot, but just for those that don't know, there is voting, because I get some people asking. That's why it is on the front of our website.
I checked with Maureen, just, but she doesn't need.
No, because actually I asked the same thing to ask you guys. It's a school, so, and then you heard Benji say he's got to go set up booths. They're only setting up like 15. I think school ended today, so tomorrow morning they're going to go in early and set up like 15 booths, but it seems like it's pretty well handled. And I don't think you have to go count or sign or anything. How's that?
Good, even better.
I just have I guess, I don't know, do you want me to, I did circulate this that John gave us. Do you want to talk about that now or later? This is what I scanned in, John gave me for a template.
Talk about
I
correspondence.
think it's a good
Yeah.
idea. I
Yeah.
don't-
Okay.
We
Well, I was asked, I didn't know where you want to talk about it, so. I do have
would
one piece of
say
correspondence,
just,
too.
You know,
Or on the
just
business.
adapt it with our information and.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, I've scanned it in. Yeah, I should be able to. I think I have the opposite, because now that, I don't want to have to retype it.
No,
I'm just
maybe
thinking, no, I can undo it. I think I have the program for, to convert the Adobe back to a Word. Because I want to add our seal and things like
Yeah,
that, so.
if you can, they can probably send it to you from.
This was LGC, NHMA?
Yeah, same thing.
Okay,
Yeah, NHMA.
okay. So is that, okay?
Yep. Okay.
And then I just have one piece of correspondence, from the fire department. I can take up under correspondence.
Okay.
Sounds good.
What was the conference about, Naomi? You just went to a conference, what was that?
It had to do with community development. It had to do with kind of like we got to see Peterborough, how they're solar powering, I think, a municipal building. That's what it was. Kind of, and then it was in Keene, so they showed you walked in Keene, and it was the downtown which Weare will never be.
No.
Oh, they use it.
But it was a community and how you can get block grant money, and they talked about how you could get block grant money for street lighting, which we have 2 street lights, won't happen. It was very interesting. It was more how much money or ways of revitalizing your downtown, but it also showed you different ways of taking, they took an old mill building and regenerated half as a police department, half as the public works, and in the middle is the Keene Ice Arena.
That's cool.
And it was done.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and what it was community, and then there was some community efforts together, as to how you could kind of mingle together with, the ice arena plus. And the police station was neat. It was fit to the older building. I wouldn't say it was chopped up, but it was nice. So you did that, and Peterborough, we traveled to Peterborough, and they made the solar power does. I'd love to do solar, but it's just such an upfit cost. I don't think we're ready for that upfit cost. It was interesting, but like I said, a lot of it had to do with community development, and then a lot of it was brain health. As you laugh as you might, but it has to do with working with people and the group together, and that different people think differently, so you have to think their way sometimes. It was 4.5 hours of thinking differently, but partnering with people and speaking on a whim when he stuck the microphone in front of you, just like somebody would if it was the news media. And that's a fright. Because you never knew if you were going to be, what's your response, sir or ma'am? And it's like, so you just had to kind of think on your feet. It was more municipal. There was 30 of us. Last year we did it, and it was about the same. It's each year they do different topics depending on where you go. But I did find downtown Keene fascinating.
It is. It's a nice area.
And they've done an awful lot with the old buildings.
Mm-hmm.
Really, really nice things. There's a lot within the walking distance. The one thing probably is the traffic has to have increased, because now the turnarounds or the roundabouts are 2 and 3 lanes wide. Because never driven in, so I was in the wrong lane 90% of the time to get where I needed to go, but that was just not like coming out. It was just different, and I think by the time I walked a little bit of the street, I understood where I was. But their main street, they're just phenomenal. I never get over towards college, but I can see why a lot of kids, there's a lot going on in Keene.
A lot of those tax enhancements.
They do a lot, but, we don't have the base, and we don't have the main street, and we don't have the attraction for business because we're a commuter group.
Right.
Yes,
But we weren't alone.
The center of Weare was, they wouldn't know.
Right, but we weren't alone in that there was a lot of people in the same boat as me. I had 2 streetlights, some had none. So I felt a little bit better. But there are groups that I didn't, like the city of Franklin, she was there. She was very interesting to talk to because that's another little small area. They're about the same population, but they're a city.
Yep.
And she talked about how she just did the changing all her streetlights with LED through the community block grant.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was partnering. It was different people you learn from, but there's a lot of, if we had an ever chance, but you were never going to see Weare have a downtown. Not to what these people have.
No, not to what they have.
No. And the variety of what's there and how people come and stay and not come and stay for a few months and then move somewhere else because there's nothing here. But it was very fascinating.
Cool.
Thank you for asking.
No, seriously.
Yeah.
I think it should be.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of
Tell us
networking.
what you've done and,
Yeah, it's a lot of networking, but there's a
Yeah.
lot of things you realize too when you get there that it's not a one-shoe-fits-all.
That's good.
You know what I mean? You got from the big cities to the little, to the Keens, to the, you know. But there's money out there if somebody wanted to chase it for a block grant. There's a guy, I got his card, but I don't know what I'll do with it. You know what I mean? Because I don't know what Weare would do with, he's done millions of dollars of projects.
Maybe we can just do something with the town hall.
Yeah, I mean, I could reach out and see if I could bounce something off him. That's a good thought,
Absolutely.
June.
There's a,
Yep.
this sense committee that I've volunteered.
Yep.
We've had one meeting, and it's really just an introductory meeting, but I was on it before, and we didn't submit any projects because at the time, our board was not really gung-ho on accepting federal money. But I'd like to see if we can tie some things together, like the hazard mitigation. We really talked about putting the need to have a rebuilt river road as an alternative route. Now, maybe we can tie that in with SEDS and have a project listed there that parallels it, so if it's in two places that's related to federal planning and the federal government really comes through with infrastructure money, then
It can
maybe
be there.
it's a way to
So you can
pull it
flood
together and make
control
that
area.
project.
Well, like I say, if they want to get to there for flood control area, they'll pay.
Yeah.
The feds, yeah, they've
Yeah.
got 2,000 acres down there.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So if they want to get to it, then
It's within that
they'll
federal,
pay.
And it's within, right off River Road.
They'll pay for the
So
road.
there are all kinds
all
of,
types of spots.
Hmm.
Good.
the second meeting on that is 29th. It's not really exciting. It's not at all. If you can keep your eyes open, it might be, I'll fall asleep. It's possibilities.
I'm all set except for the one-piece correspondence I'll read under other business.
Okay,
I mean,
for public comment?
yes.
Can I ask some public comment?
Good evening, John Van, Walker Hill Road. Two things. Ricky, you mentioned something earlier, possibly going for a grant for the town hall. The only thing I would question
Warrant.
I'm sorry, warrant for it.
Yeah.
If that fails, does that mean the no means no part of the RSA means you can't touch that building now with government funds?
It's true. I don't know. You have to be looked into, but I
That-
agree.
that would be
It's
a
a good,
concern.
something to look into.
Yeah, if you're gonna go after the warrant, then you gotta be very careful, because if that fails, then depending on how much money you ask for and
Yeah.
with everything
Yeah.
else
No,
going on, no
makes
means
good
no, you
sense.
guys are
Yep.
stuck. Second thing is, from a building standpoint, you mentioned pictures, Naomi, of the spires
Yep.
or the bell tower. Maybe something working together with the historical society group. Maybe you guys ought to have like a once a year a photo catalog of all the buildings just for inspection purposes. So you catalog everything. Last year I wasn't leaking on this roof. Now I am. What's changed? Things like that.
Okay.
It wouldn't cost a lot of money, but
Yep.
in the long run. at
Yeah,
least
well, we
you-
have them in two phases. I mean, when they took the first ones off, we have some pictures, and then we just took some again.
But I'm thinking
I've never
from an
compared.
annual standpoint, just part of an annual checklist.
Yeah, it also would be valuable at deliberative session when we get into these discussions of putting.
To have pictures?
Before you don't have
Yep.
a plan.
If you can show the deterioration year by year by year, it's like, okay, we need to do this now. So those would be my two
Okay.
things.
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Campana. I'll try to do the easiest first because it's a result of tonight's meeting. So satisfy one selectman, it won't be too far in the past.
I get old, Frank, my mind doesn't hold that much.
I'm just repeating what you told me a long time, or
Yeah,
have
well,
told people. So
make
I
it
am
better.
too, today's my birthday, so
Oh, happy
Happy
birthday.
birthday, Frank.
I can
We
say
would've
now
sang
I'm
to you
a year
earlier.
older, not a day older.
Yeah,
So, but you're still young yet, Jack, so you have no excuse.
yeah, okay.
In regards to the cameras to the safety complex, I don't want to be misunderstood. I'm not criticizing the cameras, but I was a little bit surprised that out of the 5 of you folks, maybe you know already, what is an additional cost for these cameras? I don't know how surveillance cameras work. I mean, you see news broadcasts that they take them from a grocery store that got robbed. They run for a certain amount of time, then maybe they stop, I guess. I mean, how are they recorded? Do they run 24/7? 365 days a year? Is it continuous? What does that cost? Is there storage? Do you store these things so if you need something 2 months down the road because of the great example of a domestic taking place in front of the building? Who's going to take care of this? Is this going to be part of the job of the part-time secretary? So now it'll turn into a full-time secretary job. Nobody asked the question. Okay, we need the cameras, sounded justified, let's get them. But there's more to it.
I can answer some of that, Frank, just from experience, and I don't want to get into it. But from my ownership of the store, it was a real antiquated system when I bought it. We were using VCR tapes that could stack up and shift mechanically when one ran out, and then you could barely use them. We put in a system that records everything within the system. It goes, I don't know what it was, let's say 2 weeks, maybe it was a month, and before it starts recording over, but you've always got a month backup, you can go in and make a DVD of any specific time period so that you can pull that out, and for example, we could make a DVD and the police could have that, or if we have somebody who suspected of shoplifting. So I think it would work something like that, where you could have that DVR that records right on the machine, and it will hold it for quite a length of time, depending on the capacity that you buy. And then you could pull out any time period and make a portable DVD, or probably even a flash drive.
Okay.
Even easier now. You probably wouldn't need a DVD, you probably do a flash drive.
Yeah.
That's how they work.
So, and to also add to that too, my experience, all the times I've been in there walking through the building, they've been on. I believe that they are 24/7 already.
They are 24/7.
And as for added cost, and Naomi, if it did slip my mind. There was on that quote, there was a monthly
$45.
$45. I don't know if it
was
was.
41.
I don't know if it was a maintenance agreement type thing,
He took it with him, I can't.
or what it was. If you
Yeah.
just inquire about it, but there was a $45 a month, and I don't believe it was like an access charge or anything like that. But it looked like it was a monthly maintenance. And now whether that's if the system crashes and they come in and it's covered under that, kind of like the radio system that we have, I don't know. But we can definitely look
Well,
into
the
that.
equipment's proprietary to that.
So I guess my point is that there is going to be a budgeted cost to them, and nobody asked the question.
There already is a budgeted cost for what they have. What they're doing is upgrading it so they can have a date and time.
Exactly.
And store, and they have the machinery to store more and to keep it running on.
Okay. I don't want to get into the debate. So it's going to be an added cost, above and beyond. Well, you say,
To install the new
Of course,
equipment.
of course
I
there
think
is.
the maintenance, the fee, the monthly fee is still the same.
It's probably the same,
It's the
but
same, Frank.
get
It's
clarified.
to include regular monthly fee.
okay, great. And I say this a little facetiously, when you ask them about, how's it going to get paid for, well, and I've alluded to the part-time secretary, if this police chief is doing the job that he's credited of doing, perhaps this part-time secretary won't be needed, because part of the driving force that I understand for the part-time secretary is because there's so many requests for right to know. All right, so, maybe the department has reached its peak of right to know request and the workload of that, and as it starts dropping off, we might get to that police chief that, has had only one in 12 years. So, maybe the board could forego the part-time secretary. So that's as far as tonight. Now, I will go back a little bit, but I had no control over it because you were on an every other week meeting, so I couldn't do anything last week. And I have an invoice in my hand from May, but the town didn't, from the beginning of May, middle of May, the town didn't receive it till May 27th. I don't know when it was on your manifest. So unfortunately, to the displeasure of the selectmen that doesn't like to go back too far, I had no control. But the invoice that I have, was on the Taurus car. And I addressed...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
The
Taurus.
invoice that I have is on the Taurus,
It's a
which is a
the police vehicle,
police
right?
department car. I think it's the only Taurus that we have, but I didn't explain it fully.
I just didn't understand the word.
Okay, sorry. And on it, well, it's a $270 bill, but on the bill, it's state inspection. And quite honestly, I didn't get confirmation, but, you know, my kick is that, you know, and I know it'll never happen, but I still have to gratify myself and keep bringing this up, you know. Why isn't Benji the first one to be asked, especially because we have the equipment? And again, this was the beginning of, this was the middle of May. He still might have been set up down there to do it, but still, he should be given the first option to say no to any type of repair, but that doesn't happen. So what I did is,
Frank, what was the cost on that inspection? Just that inspection?
What else was involved?
Pardon me?
Well, besides $270, I mean, the inspection didn't cost that. How much was?
No, no,
what was the other stuff on the bill?
It was $45 to restore a headlight lens, which was on the last time that the car was in. It said that that needed to be done for inspection. Balance 4 tires, mount and balance 4 tires, change another oil job, oil change, which was done 4,900 miles ago, the last one, which was on this one here. And an engine oil filter for like $11. So, but my point is the inspection. You know, maybe Benji can't do the tires, you know, not equipped to do that. I'm sure he probably doesn't have a balancing machine. But, so I keyed in.
He's not set up to do inspections up at that other garage.
Yeah, but this was back in.
Well, I
back in May, like,
I just said, this was back in
We're still not ready
May
to go yet.
16th.
Right.
So he may have been.
No, he wasn't.
The garage was partly
The
down.
garage was partly down,
Okay.
so.
Well, allow me to finish. So I asked Benji about the inspections, and he wasn't sure, but he thought that all municipal inspections were actually done in September. Okay. I didn't research it. I didn't know really where to research it, other than going to the road agent. I guess I'll presume to know that he knows what he's talking about. But here's the thing, all right, with an inspection. We're paying, it's budgeted highway inspection machine equipment. And I said it before, you know, we pay for a machine, and we're not getting full use out of it. At least my taxpayers are not getting full, my tax money is not getting full use. So it's budgeted at $1,820. There's an $84 a month Comcast charge, which the road agent told me that he thought it was to be hooked up. I did this after I spoke to him. And there's a $60 a month charge to the state. We don't get charged for, like, if I go up and get my vehicle charged, get inspected, there's some part of that inspection fee that I pay that the guy has to send to the state. All right, but municipals don't get paid, don't get charged for that. So at the end of last year, that total was $1,784 that we paid for that machine. So we're paying for that machine, all right? I'm getting taxed for that machine in the budget, and I'm getting taxed for a for a $40 inspection fee. So you're taxing me twice. It's the same with the bedding and furniture at the transfer station. You know, it wasn't supposed to be a moneymaker, but if I go get rid of a couch, I'm paying $5 or $10, whatever it is, and when it comes to the budget, it's budgeted to transport that away. So you're taxing me twice. You know, I wish that you would manage my tax money better. It will never happen because I'm up here constantly saying the same thing. And I get a blank stare, and I hear comments say, well, it's not a lot of money, you know, $39, $40, not a lot of money. Just like the $90 charge to tighten the gas cap, that the car tells the driver that the gas cap is on crooked. It's not a lot of money. Well, I should have started at the beginning of the year to see how many times the phrase of, well, it's not a lot of money, and add it up at the end of the year, so when it comes budget time, I can say, well, you know, is a lot of money or isn't it? So that's my complaint, and I'm sure I might be here again.
I'd like to make a statement, Frank.
Pardon?
I'd like to make a statement. Being a state inspector and doing them myself religiously, that machine, you also have to run the heavy-duty stuff through too. Even though it's not plugged in, you still have to generate a report with the state.
I understand that.
So all the trucks, all the plow trucks and everything like that go through it as well.
Right. Yes.
The other thing is too is that when that vendor put state inspection on there, it might be that's the term that or the labor code that he uses for a 20-point checkover or a general overall inspection. That might be the labor term that he uses, or that in the computer system that he uses for an overall inspection. I don't know that for sure, but I know that we've done that before. Also, too, is that car has a different plate on it now, and I don't know if that has changed where it's no longer a municipal police plate on it. I don't know if that's changed the inspection time. I don't, as far as months. I don't know if that's changed that.
It used to be March.
It used to be March and September for the heavy side, anything over 10,000. Then that changed again, but I think most of them were 9, so September. But I don't know if that changed the month on that one.
Okay.
So, and the other thing is too is you know, if it's there getting all that work done, is it more practical to leave the vehicle there? You've already paid 2 officers to go down there and drop it off at 20 an hour. So now 2 officers is $20. Rough. If you pay them a half hour to go down there and drop it off, is it practical to leave it down there or bring it back to the station and then bring it back down to the highway department? Another half hour, you've justified the cost to leave it there. And
I actually thought of that.
And I'm not saying that we shouldn't use the highway department for more stuff. I agree. But I've always agreed with you on that one, that they don't get used enough for things that we can do within the highway department's realm. You know, obviously if it's something more technical, then yes, send it away.
I've always stated that.
But you know, so I don't know if that was some of the thinking there. I don't know, but I just I wanted to say that because again, I know that you definitely would have thought of that, but you know, especially where that we brought it down there once, now we're going to bring it somewhere else, so now have you justified the cost?
Right, and there is legitimacy to that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why double step? If it's there, let them do it.
Right.
But it goes to other things.
No, I agree.
It's a symptom of other things.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and just, it does say state inspection completed, New Hampshire state inspection passed. So I have to figure.
They plugged it in.
So they plugged it in.
So and what was the cost on the inspection?
It was
It was $40 for the inspection, which
Right.
is standard probably at that point.
Pretty standard.
That doesn't mean that because the highway department has that machine. Now, maybe on paper, which happens in a lot of different agencies in local, state, and county government, that if they send a vehicle that's from another agency within that area, that they don't bill them for the time that they use on that machine, because they have to account for it.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that they may not go to the highway garage and Benji will generate a report saying, okay, this is what it costs. It may not be $40, but it may be a generated cost for their time to have that hooked up to the machine. They have to pay for the sticker. It has to get accounted for and paid for.
We do. I just
No,
read
I'm
that.
saying over at over at the highway garage, then he has to account for that sticker, so he may bill the police department for that. So you may save some cost, but the problem is he isn't set up to do that right now.
Okay, all right.
And he won't be
Well-
till after he's in the new garage, and they authorize him to start working out of that
Because then
location.
the state has to come down and
The
inspect the
state has to
facility.
do that. Every time they move, they have to authorize the location.
Right, I get that, I get that. But again, the fact is that even going back before this move, there are time and time again, the police department bypasses the highway department to get something done. With the exception of wintertime, I always have, now I have to go back and qualify things, say, well, yeah, Rick's gonna say, well, we gotta have a plow truck fixed before, an inspection. I'm not, I'm a little older, but my brain still functions a little bit, so. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Frank.
Correspondence, you said you had something?
Yeah, I received a memo from the fire department. I just so you guys know that at their monthly meeting held in January, the Board of Fire Wards voted to transfer accounts with an outstanding balance for EMS services from Comstar to First Financial Resources, which is a collection agent. This action's response to Comstar's inability to collect payment of outstanding amounts owed. The amount exceeds $100,000 currently. These accounts are more than 120 days old, and all efforts to collect payment have been exhausted. Efforts to collect this debt include the insurance claims process and 3 billing statements sent to the patient. The outstanding balance is now at the point of abatement or collections. The fire department is contracted with First Financial Resources to provide collections on our behalf, and they've sent a sample collection letter that will be going to people that are beyond their timeframes.
This
So-
is not a change from Comstar.
Nope.
It's a
Nope.
movement for those that Comstar couldn't collect.
Right.
Yep.
And there was a discussion. I think that there's a change now of how they used to do things. It used to be, I guess, there used to be an old way that there was ways of getting it abated or forgived, and now everybody's being collected. So there's a different mindset as well, but Comstar's done their due diligence, so now it's time for First Financial Resources, which they're collection specialists, to chase down the $100,000 that was currently outstanding. So I just wanted to, he asked if I just bring you up to date on where they are in case you hear from others. It has gone to collection.
How far back does it go if it's 100,000?
He said it's more than 120 days old.
Okay.
That's 4 months.
They break that down. For
Residents.
100,000?
Probably more than you
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's-
I didn't get any details. I'm just sharing you the fact that it is, they have gotten someone else, and it's going to be having them do their collections to try to get that 100,000.
So, I'd rather see-
If they don't, you'll be seeing what gets waived, but just an FYI.
I wonder how many Weare residents are.
I honestly, like I said, that's all I was given, yeah.
There's, people that can't really afford it.
Well, there's a hardship paperwork you can fill out too.
Okay.
Yeah, there's an avenue,
Because I
but
know
just
that we
ignoring
used
it
to-
doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it got to be very
Also
complicated.
on that,
Yeah.
new business, other business? I have one thing myself, but go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, one relates to, let me back up. Planning board did a site walk down on the corner of Rockland Road, and there's a new business proposed to go in there, a trucking business. But during the discussion, we had a lot of people from the neighborhood there, and I think even without that, there's a concern about where the speed limit changes. As you go by River Road, you're just like maybe 100 feet at the most up from River Road on Route 77, and the speed limit increases. So that means everybody steps on it there, and so they're at 50 miles an hour by the time they get to the intersection of Rockland Road and the turn down to the transfer station on Middle Road. The concern was related to the possibility of trucking business going in there, but also But that's a bus stop. People have seen multiple near accidents there. And so what I said is maybe we should look into having them move that increased speed to just beyond the intersection with, maybe have it 35 until you get just past Rockland Road. And that way, people won't be accelerating just as they reach that intersection. We did that several years ago. Actually, there was a request generated by a resident on Route 114 between Reservoir Drive and the transfer station, because that speed increased there, and the resident was asking that we keep it at 35 from Reservoir Drive down to where it turns to 30, just past the transfer, not the transfer, to the safety complex. I'm thinking maybe we should go back and say, okay, how do we get that changed? Who do we contact?
Contact DOT.
Yeah, District 5.
That's District 5. You'll actually contact the Morton building would come out. District 5 engineer would come out and look at it, and they'd write a generator.
Evaluate it.
Yeah.
They'd put counters out there, and then they'd have to go. That's a state highway.
I know it had to go through the board here to make that request, and so before I did anything, except talk about it.
Police chief can generate a report on it and see what, if he has an opinion that carries a lot of weight, you'd have to go to the District 5 foreman that covers this patrol area, which would be out of Henniker.
504.
Which would be the 504 shed, and then generate it with District 5 office in Bedford to have the district engineer come out and also look at it. They'll put counters out there, is what they usually end up doing.
Okay, I'm just asking the board's okay with my pursuing it.
You can pursue it, but I'm not in favor of it. And the only reason I say it is because you still have 50 mile an hour coming the other way.
Yeah.
What I mean?
You still have 50 miles an hour coming from the other way.
Change
So,
both directions.
yeah, so you have speed in both directions as far as I'm concerned. And I understand that it's only one way that you're covering from the hill, from River Road up, but you're not covering from Salmon Road to River Road, that direction. And yeah, I mean, I agree that there's probably been accidents there before, but I mean, we've had a lot or near accidents, but we've had a lot of truck traffic and a lot of traffic coming out of River Road and Merrill Road, Rockland for a long time. And, I mean, I guess I don't, I see value in it, but I don't see enough justification to make it happen.
I may not do it where you're bringing up the other part with a proposed trucking company. It hasn't been approved to be in there, and that traffic hasn't been there, so they'll want to see that, what impact that'll have before.
Right.
That's why I'm bringing it up.
Yeah, I think
if the majority of the board isn't in favor of seeing the changes, we need to pursue it this time.
no, I think
But
that
I would say, the answer, if you're gonna do it one way, you should do it the other way.
Yeah.
Have your 35 start where your
Right.
55 go the other way.
right.
I mean, that's
And-
what we, obviously, the Route 114 change was for traffic in both
I
directions.
would probably wait,
And
for me, until I see what happens at that, whether or not that business gets approved, they go in there, whether or not they get a.
May I make a comment on this? Seeing as how I was one of the ones that brought up the safety issue at the planning board. This particular issue, it just, for clarification, I stepped down from the planning board for this particular
Could you
issue.
come up here, John?
Yeah.
Just for clarification, I stepped down from the planning board for this particular hearing due to conflict of interest with my present employer. What I would love to see there, and I agree, I don't think a speed limit change would probably be the best idea. I think what may be a better idea, maybe a dedicated turning lane. My issue is coming up the hill, Walker Hill Road, I have to turn my turn signal on probably halfway up the hill,
Yeah.
hoping that people behind me see the turn signal.
So isn't it passing on the hill? Going
Yes,
towards
they-
Concord?
yes, sir,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Passing both
I think you
ways.
can
North.
pass right at the bottom of the hill going
Going
up the
north,
hill.
right.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
And either way, you can pass.
Going west, you can.
But
Okay.
my issue is, sun's setting, I got my turn signal on, they
Yeah.
can't see it, or
Right.
in the morning.
Sun rising, yeah, sun setting or rising, depending on which way
Yeah.
you're coming.
I would, if that business was to go in there, and this is something I'm gonna bring up Thursday, at public comment on this, well, you see the emails. I'd love to see, a dedicated turn lane, widen that section,
I'm sure there's plenty of right-of-way available to do such a thing, and then make the proposed company foot the bill for that. That would be my suggestion.
Yeah, it would also be advantageous to the traffic going in and out of the transfer station and the trucking that comes in and out of there,
And-
especially.
And
plow
realign that intersection. Years ago, Walker Hill Road used to be Burnt Hill all the way through, if I remember correctly, back in the 40s, I think, before they built Concord
Actually,
Stage.
I think it was all Rockland Road.
Yeah.
It could have been,
Right up
but
through.
Yeah.
looking at the old maps, that used to be, when Concord Stage didn't exist in that section there, that was the main thoroughfare into Weare from Concord. But somewhere, the intersection got misaligned between Walker Hill Road and Rockland Road. Somehow they got misaligned. Maybe get that realigned too. Thoughts? That's. But that if there's going to be an increase in, it's not just a truck sale business, it's also heavy equipment sales too. So there's going to be a lot of low boys going through there, and that's a concern.
Yeah, that's another point that was brought up, I think, that I didn't think of, is that it does turn into a passing lane.
Yeah.
As you're going up the hill.
Yeah.
Even that, maybe we should, even if.
That, again, is up to, that'll be a study by, that
Because,
DOT,
I mean,
State road, so.
Because the highway guys come out of there too, loaded,
Yep.
Yeah.
and they're slow, you know what I'm saying? When they're loaded, they make the
That's what I'm
turn.
saying, they could be-
And
I
as of
mean-
right now, I know a lot of you don't travel Walker Hill Road part, but as you come out of Walker Hill Road at that intersection, you look left, there's some overgrowth there. You can't see anything. There's also an RV that's
I saw
parked,
that,
that's
yeah.
parked legally where it's at, but
It
the
blocks
Blocking worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's the visual between Walker Hill Road and cars coming at doing 50,
Yeah,
60
coming westbound.
plus miles an hour. If you have a slower vehicle and you don't have a lead foot, somebody's going to get a T-bone.
And the
Well, we'll see
sun's
what happens
terrible
in the
too.
next month as far as the business, and then
Yeah.
we get some other options to talk about here. But I wanted to get the discussion started.
But that's something I'm also going to bring up Thursday, if we hear that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna be there, unfortunately.
You're not? Then
You probably won't have a quorum.
we definitely won't have a quorum then.
I think it's gonna be continued. Chip said something about, because I told him a month ago I wasn't going to be there that Thursday. He said something to the effect, don't worry about it, because, and I think that is gonna be continued.
According to the emails I saw going back and forth discussing who's going to be there, who's not, as long as Mr. Kirk and Mr. Bolton are there, then it's a quorum, because it'll be at least 3.
Yeah, I know.
And I have to step down, and our chairman won't be there, so.
And I can't be there because of a medical thing.
Yep.
that day,
So, like I said, I just wanted to state my opinion on that intersection.
So we're gonna hold, so
Just
we're,
hold on, okay, it's on the table
Yep.
for future discussion.
It's held.
Anybody else? Other
Well,
business, Jan?
I went to the Right to Know class. And let me tell you, what an interesting thing, from 8 o'clock in the morning before. You only had 3 hours.
Oh, I have.
Did they give you lunch?
Oh, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
they did.
Oh, yeah.
It was very nice over there. And you know, I think that, I don't know how to approach all this, but I mean, the DPW garage problem that had existed, I think had an awful lot to do with a committee being appointed as a financial advisory committee, or not financial, but an advisory committee. And there being no minutes, and then after that, somehow it broke down and there was now like 4 or 5 people that were part of the committee. And that committee met, and I don't believe there were any minutes from that. That was a subcommittee. And, I mean, but this committee carried on important business. I mean, the sealed bids,
Steel bids were open in here.
well, no, they weren't.
Oh, the bids were brought.
DPW garage bids were due today. This is our minutes,
And they were-
okay?
and they
Wait a
were-
minute,
they were brought
please.
here.
4 sealed bids were received. Over the next 2 weeks, the subcommittee will open the bids.
No, they were opened
4
up in here.
bids were received. The plan is to bring the companies in for a question and answer session. This is the next meeting on the 15th. The town administrator felt that they were similar in nature, all the bids. That was her advice to this board. The subcommittee interviewed the 4 companies for the DPW garage. I mean, why weren't those bids carried on by the Board of Selectmen?
They were interviewed here
No.
in this room. All 4 of those
They were
companies.
interviewed, but wait a minute. No, they weren't. All 4 were interviewed by the subcommittee. I'm reading this in our
No,
minutes.
because I was part of that, it's what you call subcommittee, Jan, and there was nothing, they were not interviewed in the meeting there. They were interviewed in this meeting in front of the Board of Selectmen.
2 of them were.
No,
2.
all of them were.
Well,
That
then
included
who's
North
doing,
Branch Builders.
Naomi's doing terrible minutes, is that what you're
North-
trying to say?
North Branch
I don't
Builders
believe
were,
that,
they were done
Naomi.
here in this meeting. And they were it was one of the 4. North Branch, it was,
There was, that was with Kevin. We
Yes.
interviewed the
well,
4.
the new invented before they came here.
We interviewed the 4 with Kevin,
Yeah, here.
Steve, you,
They may
that
even
was
say the
Bruce.
board wasn't here.
And then we
and then
interviewed them
the-
again with the full board. They came
the
in
two,
and
the
gave us
2
their
that we moved
proposals.
forward, the 2 that you moved forward.
There was
The
somebody
two.
else, who else was here with the board? Because we sat in this room and did it all,
We did that,
If you had
to-
minutes, you'd
With
know.
Kevin.
with Kevin.
right, with Kevin.
I
And
believe
then
that
there was
the full
4.
board was here with them, except Keith. Was the only one
No,
that-
no, that was the 2 that came forward. The
Tom?
top 2.
Tom, Ricky, and you interviewed the 2.
So we had a
Correct.
It was a selectman.
Yes. But you interviewed the 2 in here with
Yeah, it was
Benji
4.
Nass,
Kevin ran
Steve
it.
Roberts,
Kevin ran it.
Bruce,
Yeah, I don't.
And Kev.
No,
Okay.
because Kevin
I stand
ran
corrected
it.
then.
Kevin ran it.
That's right, Kevin did
Yeah.
come, but I thought he came to the selectmen's meeting, we did it.
He did that too.
He did that too,
Did that
to interview the
outside of
2.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Jan's right as
Oh,
far
yeah.
as the total board interviewing.
It was only 2.
Was the top 2.
And
I mean,
think the
there's
reason-
nothing that says the board has to open up those sealed bids. It went to it went in, it was submitted to the town,
But
she
there's no
opened it up.
transparency,
Why?
nobody, no, because there wasn't any. Because then you went to non-public, which is not, this is not right. You can't, you're not supposed to do
Well,
a bid proposal in a non-public.
we vetted these people, we talked to them.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says we
At
can't
the-
talk
at
to
the
them.
time that those-
I showed these to NHMA and they're not right, in right-to-know law. The people need to see.
Did somebody file a petition for a right to know?
I didn't want to go that route, that's why I came here.
No, but I meant, did somebody file that?
My question is though, on that,
Mhm,
where we interviewed the 2,
mhm.
that should have been covered under C.
For reputation.
Reputation
No
of,
reputation, I mean, in my job that I did, I had to go to selectmen's meetings, to the counties,
Mhm.
the school boards. You made your presentation to these boards if you were
And you
selling them a product or selling them, in this
There's
case.
certain proprietary and contractual things that come out in a meeting like that that have to be kept in the non-public, so you're not having their competitor take one against the other.
Well, at this point,
And it's-
What I'm trying to say is, this is all wrong, and you're having way too many, non-publics.
well, you can keep us straight, and I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean it as, you know, if you disagree with the way that was done, then in the future, please just say, you know, that's not appropriate for non-public, let's discuss it before we go into
Fine.
non-public. I mean it.
Right.
And
Just,
But let me say
part of the thing
something,
he's
Jack.
ruling
That's
also with
why we-
non-public is what? That if somebody wants to know the information, that they should be filing a request for right to know in writing.
I'm bringing it to you
No,
because I knew
I'm
what
saying
this
they should be
was.
doing it, and nobody has done, we don't hold people to that standard here, do we?
But you're not being transparent
If that's
either.
not being transparent, if somebody wants to know, they go up into the office, see Naomi, and they get the paperwork. Do they pay for it? Do they
What I'm
file a
trying
petition
to
for
say
it? No.
is, these people could have come in and made the presentation, the public is here. You can have the times separated so that their competitors aren't in here.
Well,
And that is the proper way to do it. I've been through it.
we made the decision, Jan, and you know, the thing of it is that you're coming now and saying this how long after the fact? You know,
I don't
you were
want it
here,
to happen
no,
in the
you were here,
future.
you were here for some of those meetings as a
That's
member of the
the
public.
point, and I
That's,
agree.
that's the point, I agree.
Let's look, let's
Let's
look.
look to the future.
not
If
the
we're
past.
wrong, then okay, somebody will come and tell us we're wrong, and it'll be a legal opinion
This
from an
issue,
attorney
But
at this
that's what
point.
I'm trying to prevent.
Well, at
In
this
the
point,
future.
I don't,
That's
in the
why I
future,
came
that's what
here.
we'll have to look at.
In the future.
you know, the part that I disagree with is that the general statement that we do too much in non-public. This, I think, really is a debatable issue to bring up. I agree with you, this is a debatable issue. But normally when we go into non-public, it's pretty strictly controlled. And I have even said, as we're talking about something, we branch off, and I will say, I don't believe this belongs in non-public.
Right.
We've got to go into public
Back in the public session.
I'm not saying like recently, because I haven't seen it right now. The one thing I do think is wrong is like tonight's meeting with the non-public in the beginning of the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You're really supposed to convene your meeting first, go out of the meeting, and then go into non-public. I don't believe this is correct to do.
The agenda, you mean? I'm just trying to,
No, having the
okay.
non-public prior to your opening your meeting. You're supposed to open your meeting and then do your non-public.
Oh, okay,
We're supposed to have
okay.
everybody come in, sit down, get up.
That's
leave.
why they suggest you do, you can do it at the end.
No, I mean,
but-
it's
yeah.
a courtesy thing.
Yeah.
So you're saying, oh, I see, so you're saying to open it, and then we make a motion to go into, we send everybody out, and then, okay. Because I'm just saying, what we've done is we do the non-public, and then even the old minutes said, we open and do the Pledge of Allegiance, and that's the same format we've used. I understand what she's saying, is you gotta open a meeting to make an
Yeah, you
action to go
convene the
into.
meeting first, yes.
Well, we can convene it without
Without anybody being
anybody
here.
here,
Right.
you know.
And he did, he has, you know, made a motion that we're here, we go into non-public.
Yeah, but the meeting officially.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
meeting
I
is
didn't-
It doesn't-
I did
Right.
not say,
Correct,
No.
we
right.
now open the.
That's
meeting.
correct.
So, okay, so we gotta change the word.
Okay,
Little formality
But,
change.
and that's,
Little formality.
excuse
But
me.
we found it.
You know, Jack, I'm not trying to be,
but your thing is you're bringing up old stuff, Jan, that is gone by, and the thing of it is that, okay, don't come in here and tell us we did something wrong. We did what we thought was right at the time. We've had it gone, and been gone through with, we've had legal counsel here in the past. You weren't privy to some of this. And you're now coming in telling us that we did
well, I would
all
like
this
to know
wrong.
what's on council, so let the
And
council.
we've had counsel sit on a lot of stuff on some of the
See, but you
stuff
don't
we
have
did.
to have, if you're meeting with legal counsel, you don't have to have a
You
meeting.
don't have to
No,
have
I
a meeting.
understand
Yeah.
that.
So
No,
I
I
mean,
understand that.
but
I
the
didn't
thing of
say
it
that.
is we did everything, we spent a lot of time putting all that stuff together to go out there. Naomi did, the Board of Selectmen did at the time to get these bids put out for this. Now you're coming in and saying that we did something wrong, and to come in here and second guess us, and come in that way, and you're talking about a right to know, now you're talking about non-public, they're two different issues.
No, right to
Yeah.
know is the
Well,
same
no,
thing. That is.
right to know.
It's
No,
not to
the
be
right-
behind
The
non-public.
right to know also means that if you want the information, you can file it. If it's in
No,
non-public, you
no.
can get you can get those minutes if they're not sealed, also, correct?
Continue on
Can
in the
you
business
correct?
that you're talking about,
Can
and
you
you're gonna get
correct?
sued.
Am I
I'm
correct?
telling you that.
Am I correct, that you want to find out the information on a non-public meeting, if they're not sealed, you can get that information, that's all
Well,
it is.
supposedly, it's right
Well,
here anyway.
Actually, what we usually have done is if we don't seal them, we just
It's, the information
Noted.
is there.
note.
They're noted, and they can be looked at.
But
after
Jack,
the time.
Okay, time out.
but just, can I just, the right to know is part of
Oh, I
public
know,
and
but
non-public.
she's talking about, you know, our right to know, well, fine. file
Right,
the
but
paperwork.
but when you take the right to know class, you know that.
I know.
It does include
It
the right
includes
to
all of
know.
that, plus
in
your
and out,
non-public meeting,
and it
what
guides
time to
you.
Guide the
Okay,
stuff for
okay.
non-public meetings, and
Okay.
get the minutes if you want to,
Yep.
file the paperwork. But to turn around and, you know, say that, you know, we're not
I think it's a
I'm
friendly,
using it as a
I think
for
it's just a
instance, is
suggestion to
whatever.
move forward.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, it's definitely
yeah.
moving forward now. It's
But coming and second guessing is that.
Move on. And you know, that just shows the value of going to these trainings,
Mhm.
because you can bring things back to us to change where change is needed.
And the one
I
that
do
John, and
think-
just, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
I do think that we have, and especially with all the police department problems and everything else, said that we were gonna be transparent, and I think that we need to do that.
Just, and also John asked to sign up for a class, and I didn't, because it's not available yet. It's the Budget and Finance Workshop. And it's gonna be in September in Bedford? Yeah. So when I go to sign him up, I guess I'll just remind you if anybody else wants to go. It is a great,
I'll
Beth,
go. I've been
I was gonna say,
before,
because
but
Beth
I'll
and
go.
I usually go, because there's always some new tip
Yeah.
or something for budget season. But I'll remind you all, I mean, that's what that's there for, because it is very interesting, and Steve and Margaret do it, a lot of it. There's
Okay,
other
'cause
things that
I
are,
did
yep.
this. And I am gonna be getting another, there is a change, I guess, in one of the things in here.
Okay,
So I'll be getting another,
page to the book?
well, no, they're gonna send me a whole new one, so it's something.
Really?
gonna be-
Okay, yeah.
So then what we can do is take a copy of this one.
With the
Those
new-
can also be purchased.
Yeah, but they're
They're
like
expensive.
$60 a piece.
Yeah. So I thought,
For the books now, like 60.
Yeah,
yeah.
unless you want to do it, I mean, I think you can get it electronically for maybe.
Electronically, it's
Yeah.
half price.
It's
Yeah.
half price if you want to find it on your tablet all the time, but I always did my books that way.
Download it and-
Right.
It is, I mean, but if you want to scroll back and forth with pages, that's not for me.
Just print off a bunch of copies.
I think the last
Yeah,
time was.
I mean, we can-
$15.
It's gotta be less than $60.
Well, exactly, and you double side it, and,
Yeah.
I mean, you can, I mean, when I went to school, I didn't do online that way because I needed a book in my hand.
Yeah.
Reading the paper's $2.
That's true, for 500 sheets.
Any other business?
You can get the slash and make some paper.
Can I do ask a question. Did the forestry make sense to you guys? It didn't,
Yeah, it makes sense to me.
it did to me, but I guess,
I've been around some of it, so I know what he was talking about. I mean, when you go, he's talking about a forwarder, which looks like a logging truck.
So I haven't been by,
On big wheels,
so-
or it could be on tracks, and it kind of articulates, but it's got a picker on it, and it's got a bunk. And what they do, it has a very narrow footprint, so when the shear or fella buncher or whatever they use that grabs this, it runs it through the delimber, it dumps it all on the ground, and he lays it down, and then the forwarder comes along behind him in the same basic footprint,
Picks
and
it
that
up.
way they're not cutting wide swaths and with a skid.
So, let me-
He just comes up over and grabs it, throws it on the bunk, and keeps going.
I was writing, so it literally cuts a tree.
And then-
One of it
And then
cuts the
it
tree,
runs
and
it
has
through like
dilemma,
a
and it
Fell
toothpick
back,
thing?
strips it.
Yeah, the fellow bunch, it drops it, and then it's got teeth on it.
And then somebody comes behind him, what's he do with that piece?
Oh, he takes it up, then they'll cut it to length.
Leaves it right next to him.
It's all done in one, and
See, I
then
didn't know.
he picks
I
it up on
couldn't
this
follow
other
him.
rig, and then they're wind looking. It looks
Yeah.
like
Typically, a two.
Well, I
Two piece of
didn't, I
equipment.
couldn't follow it because I don't
$1 million
log.
worth of equipment to cut your wood.
yeah, and
Yeah, it's two pieces of machinery.
And he comes along, and it's got this. It looks like some spaceship, you know, like you see
Okay.
in some movie. It's got a funny cab on it, and it's got. He comes up and he gets up in the picker. He sits up in the thing, picks it up, slips it in the bunk.
But it's
and goes to
two
the
different
next.
machines.
Yeah,
So then
we-
he does
we
that and
started
goes to the next
talking
tree.
about-
Right.
Yeah, that's when I remember I talked
And-
to Steve years ago,
Yeah.
because that's what they use for a method when they log the area. It kind of went in right at the top of the hill coming up from the highway garage, and logged that area, and that's what they were using for equipment.
And the slash.
Well, that makes more sense.
It helps the habitat. Basically, is what it does.
Well, you're also crunching over it, it sounds
Yeah,
like.
and then they drive over it and it pushes it, you know, not all of it, but they
Think of it
do
as a
some.
snowshoe.
Yeah.
You're not punching through into the.
You know, with
You're
the
trying not
skidder,
to
like
be-
he's saying, you know, you'll lay the trees down, they'll just lay them down and leave the branches, and they'll go on and keep cutting, and then the skidder comes along, and he'll have a hitch, it depends on how it's set up. But
Two or three.
You could have as many six,
Okay.
7
I
trees
just,
on
I
it,
didn't make a
depending
whole
on
lot
the
of sense
size
to
of
me,
it.
but
And
I
they
just
come
thought I
down
would
through
ask.
there, and you, like I said, you get
Because I think it
180
was
feet,
worthwhile to know that he does it,
Depending on the
and you
tree.
could go ask questions.
and then they cut it to
You
a
know,
landing, and they
I
got.
think that was a big
I understand
takeaway.
it.
Big
You know, I
landing for
just-
for
It just
Mine-
looks
like a
terrible.
chipper or
Have to go out that way.
or
Still?
another machine, and they'll
Oh, I haven't been
limit,
out.
and then they'll cut it and throw it on the truck.
Right.
I mean,
So-
I second that.
Good night.
Oh, yeah.
All in favor?
What time?
Me.